Hello, everyone. Okay, so this is the April 2025 planetary alignment and aspects with the degrees. So please take screenshots. So that's April 1st through the 4th, April 6th through the 12th, April 14th through the 18th, and April 19th through the 24th, April 25th through April 30th. I also put up again the Venus retrograde dates and also the retrograde shadow dates, as you can see. So you can take screenshots. I've put these up before, but just in case you don't have them, the eclipse schedule, and again, previous North Node and Pisces dates in the past, and the contrast between Pisces and Virgo, and then Mercury retrograde um, for the year of 2025. So you can have that. I thought I had Mercury retrograde and shadow. Um, I guess I don't, but I'll be discussing those in the line in the when I go through each sign. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight into it. Hi, Aries. Okay, for the Aries that had their birthday in March, happy belated birthday. And for you, Aries, that your birthday falls in this month, happy birthday. And it is all about you. There's so much going on. That's why I did a little snippet of a birthday month celebration. All right, so the month begins with still the eclipse in your sign and Neptune being in your sign. So we have the eclipse energy. And in the beginning of the video, I did throw up the planetary alignment. I also gave you some eclipse information if you want to take screenshots of that. Also, beginning in this month, some annoying details or confusion are still in play. But by mid month, this starts to clear up and you begin to identify what still needs to be worked on because both Venus and Mercury will go direct, but they'll still be in shadow. So that's why I'm saying, you'll have some stuff that still needs to be worked on. But for the most part, you become clear-headed in your objective or objectives. Mid-month is highlighted by the full moon in Libra and Venus going direct in Pisces, and Venus does rule Libra. And we do have a square from Mars in Cancer. Um, around mid-month as well. So a last hurrah for your cancer-related house or regarding family or your living condition or space. And the latter half of the month will be sort of a wrap-up for January through March's significant energies. They start to, the significant ones, the major ones, they'll start to roll in during the latter half of the month for you to deal with and clear up. And by month's end, you dust yourself off and get back on track. So that is how the month is split up. And now let's go through the monthly aspects and what to look out for. Okay. So what I wanted to first discuss is your ruler, Mars, uh, finishing up his stay in the sign of Cancer. Again, Cancer is your fourth house of home, family, parents, your country, your pride, patriotism, your clan. Um, since it first entered last September, a long time and a very big deal for this wrap up. Now, for you older Aries, you can think back to actually 15 years ago. I'm not talking about Neptune, I'm talking about this Mars retrograde and direct and those degrees. So, yeah, to around 2010. And the connection of the events that we've been going through um, with that time. So, the connection with parents, a living situation, something about countries, distance, and all that. Mars entered Cancer back on 5th of October 2009, um, and uh, and it left Cancer in May 2010. I'm talking about the older Aries and the significance that it was that is coming up, that came up last September, excuse me, and with these eclipses being karmic in nature as well. Uh, so there were eclipses in Cancer in 2009 and 2010, and these eclipses were entangled with eclipses in Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Gemini. And especially with Neptune having entered Pisces, your 12th house of secrets in the past, back then in 2000. 11, but it went retrograde, and then finally Valentine's Day 2012, it planted itself in Pisces. So, and I'm taking a little bit longer for this. Um, I'll put timestamps because I think it might take a little bit long to explain, but I think it's important because, like I mentioned, what the issue you've had with Mars in Cancer and Neptune in Pisces, and with the Mars Pluto opposition back in November, you're wrapping it up here, and you need to release it in order to go forward. And most of you have, but there's it's still going to come back up because remember, uh, we're going to have retrograde planets in the latter half of the month, the major ones. So Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, they're all going to go back into the previous signs. So yeah, so back in 2010, your family and your career or status in regards to a relationship came to a head, if not an explosive issue. There was a betrayal, um, or a triangle situation, a relationship that completely rocked your world, and family was also involved. And there might have been some sort of distance, maybe geographical, in regards to this relationship, um, that you might have felt constrained by, or you could have felt constrained by family in regards to this relationship. And thus, the relationship may have dissolved, not necessarily because of one thing, but a combination of, like I said, a triangle situation and maybe distance and family responsibilities or duties. Of course, other areas could have just gotten engaged then or married at that time too. And you didn't have anything um, of that sort of drama, but there was some sort of family issue resulting, and in some cases, some sort of a triangle situation, maybe within your family and your relationship. Um, Maybe you got married to somebody who was very close with her mother or his mother, and you were sort of in that triangle relationship. You wanted some sort of independence there. Now, other areas could have actually been constrained by a situation that was institutional, like hospitals. And yeah, I'll also mention confining institutions as well, because we're talking about millions and or a billion of Aries. So there's a lot of different situations. So some of you could have been confined to prison or some sort of um, correctional institution. For many Aries, Neptune, having entered Pisces in 2012, really did help with this isolation, and not necessarily only in regards to hospitals or like the correctional institutions I mentioned, but uh, that relationship drama that I mentioned earlier could have left you isolated. Um, so, so yeah, Neptune really did help with isolation or dissolution of a relationship that ensued after 2009, 2010. Um, Otherwise, some of you could have had a secret relationship starting back then, but most of you actually could have altogether changed your view on religion and shifted in another direction because Pisces does rule that. It is the 12th house, and it is your 12th house. And Neptune is very strong because he's in his own sign of Pisces. So for you, you felt the full throttle of Neptune in Pisces. Um, and saying that you could have altered your view on religion, or faith or what have you, you might have been very orthodox in your religion, or maybe you were an atheist or didn't really care for religion. But with that transit, and especially Uranus also entered your sign back in 2010, um, completely transforming you, your appearance, and certainly your attitude towards all kinds of relationships. You might have now, coming out of Neptune and Pisces, be very, very orthodox about your religion, or you might have totally um, given it up. So, so that's a big deal, especially in regards to the older Aries. That's a very big deal. You have your family and your home situation, and that's your roots, and then a relationship um, that was quite important to you, and faith and religion, and then Uranus completely changing you. Um a very, very big deal for the older Aries. Now, um, younger Aries could have experienced this, um, all what I've mentioned, uh, certainly with their own relationships or through other relationships, like with their parents. Their parents might have gone through something like that, and that has left an imprint. And what I'm getting at is not to dredge up the past, uh, uh, because I might have mentioned this in other videos, and you might be like, "Oh my God, we're over the past. Why are you bringing up the past?" Is because there are new listeners or listeners that have, it hasn't really clicked as far as what's going on. So for you pros or for you returning listeners, bear with us. Bear with me when I explain these past energies, and also because, like I mentioned, um, in my, I think March's video was Neptune leaving Pisces is the long kiss farewell, because we keep going back and forth, and it's water, it's the ocean, it's very, very powerful, seeps into everything, and it overwhelms us. Um, so yeah, it's not about dredging up the past. Uh, it is about releasing that sense of how you see yourself in the past due to those circumstances. Forgiving yourself and others, especially family. Because when Mars first entered Cancer in September last year, your issues with family was rooted back in the events of 2010, 2011. And more likely than not, specifically, your mother or a matriarchal figure. Or maybe the other woman, I'm doing air quotes, because Cancer does rule the female or the mother or matriarchal figure. Neptune and Pisces are magical. It's elusive, it's ethereal, and very, very healing. And as far as the North Node now being occupied by Pisces, it represents things that cannot be earned, like beauty, fun, and love. And Pisces understand that those things are not earned, but freely given and received through self-acceptance, despite of pain, because pain to a Pisces is useless and destructive. Um, it is only through compassion and healing that you can improve on pain. Thus, a Pisces is fearful of pain and tries to hide from it. Okay, um, and opposite the North Node is the South Node, and Virgo is situated there now. And Virgo has a hard time understanding self acceptance in terms of beauty, fun, and love, meaning these things to a Virgo are to be earned and worked for. Thus, a Virgo carries and embraces pain through self sacrifice, criticism, and endurance. So, those are the two contrasts. Um, Whereas your journey with Neptune and Pisces has been somewhat of hiding or running away from something in the past that may have been hurtful, painful, or confusing. And faith and spirituality either helped you where you believed and still believe that faith can move mountains and make things happen, or you completely have turned on that because of this journey you have been on. Um, And I also wanted to mention that, and as far as the eclipses are concerned, they are karmic in nature. They do take you back to 18 years ago, and with it being either you owe karma or karma owes you. And what the North Node does is brings a new opportunity based on the past. So if you owe karma, it would be something like you find. Maybe your son or daughter having to go through that relationship issue, and it is within your power to um, either help or hinder it in some way, and whichever you choose for whatever reason you choose it for, it would be um, it will be paying that karma back, or you getting that karma paid back to you. And don't forget, you're still setting up karma for the future of what you're doing now. I hope that's not too confusing, but I did want to mention that. Plus, we have Chiron in your sign. So Chiron represents a wound, a hurt that's based in the past. And in regards to, since it's in your sign, based in regards to how people see you or your image, um, and so on. So now, with Mercury having been in your sign, and it still is not finished because, like I mentioned, we have the retrograde, and it'll station direct, and it'll go back into your sign. And now Neptune entering your sign, this really marks something like you have awoken from a very, very long sleep, almost like a slumber. And you find yourself in this brand new world, um, almost like someone being, I'm doing air quotes, imprisoned since 2010 and walking out free in 2025 with all these new different people, gadgets, social media, um, different. Like the geography has changed almost, or like having like Netflix and streaming being like, wow, that's odd. I mean, it's just an example, but it'll be that type of awakening. At first, yes, it will feel confusing, and no thanks to both Mercury and Venus retrograding back into Pisces, but also because it has been such a long time since you have started thinking and seeing clearly, with Mercury having dipped into your sign. After all, you are the Ram, and it is all about the head for an Aries. So it's all about thinking and thinking clearly and fast. Plus, Pluto being in Aquarius and putting you out among friends and groups, and Jupiter having expanded your third house of communication, community, short distance travel, and social media. Having both Mercury and Venus retrograde back in Pisces will and probably does feel like a respite and an escape of all these changes. So that's why you're going forward, stopping, going back, going forward, stopping, going back. It's like the person who has been in a dark, maybe confining, but peaceful space and going out in a bright, white, blinding sun, and then retreating back to catch a breath, um, uh, or clearing that brightness out of the eyes, being blinded by that light, uh, or to catch a breath will feel more soothing than depressing. Okay, that's one thing I wanted to stress about these retrogrades. Some might find it absolutely annoying because you want to get on with it already. You are, after all, ruled by Mars, and Mars just wants to go forward. Um, but it is important because this is a huge shift. So it will be also very cathartic, where some of you will understand that you've come a long way, and there will be bittersweet feelings and maybe even tears of sorrow and joy of an end to this journey. But some of you may not even realize it, realize that, and you may just burst into tears uh, for no specific reason, but it is your subconscious who realizes the end of a healing journey and may cry through your conscious self. So you catch your breath with this mini retrograde back in Pisces, and then you're out and about again when both Mercury and Venus go direct in your sign. And again, this retrograde of Mercury and Venus back in Pisces will give you a clue of what the purpose of Neptune and Saturn going back into Pisces will be about for you in the fall of this year. I've mentioned that before in other videos, that these are like movie trailers of what's going to happen in this year, because we have a serious planets, inner planets, Venus and Mars, going back and forth, back and forth. So that is giving you a clue. Okay, so yes, the spotlight may still be on you because the Sun is in your sign and Neptune has just entered your sign. So you are in focus as far as others are concerned, and that can be annoying because you are wanting to be alone or working on something behind the scenes because of Mercury and Venus retrograding back in Pisces. So you maybe the annoyance will be trying to balance that. Now, um, before I jump into April 4th, because that's really what kicks off sort of this month. Um, there is, and I'm only going to do the main aspects. I mean, with the chart that I threw up in the beginning, I might not touch all the aspects, uh, I, because I want to concentrate on the main aspects, and also because I am going to be doing a mid-month to end of the month horoscope, which will also be in detail. So I don't want to take up a lot of time with other aspects that may be not as important. But for you, I might do almost all of the aspects since it's your birthday month. And like I said, because so much is going on for you. So April 2nd, we do have the moon conjunct Jupiter in Gemini. And I usually do not mention or give any credence to the moon because, it's a fleeting aspect. It's a 2.5 day um, thing with the moon. But again, I highlighted some moon activities that are important. So with the moon conjuncting Jupiter in Gemini, you have had Gemini is your third house of communication, commuting, short distance travel, Communication devices, siblings, cousins, neighbors, neighborhood, a very close knit community. It is social media, it's your vision, it is language, it is the house of your need to be heard. And it has to do with buying and selling, contracts, commerce, and all that. So you've had this area of your life that has been expanding since last summer. And Jupiter is a benefic planet, so it's opportunity, and it is optimistic, um, very hopeful. That's the key with Jupiter, is having hope until the end. But Jupiter's transit is the luck that you are given, is a use it or lose it kind of deal. So Jupiter will be in Gemini until June, July. Then it changes into Cancer. Uh, so the opportunities have been expanding here in your third house. On April 2nd or thereabouts, try to pay attention to your feeling about an opportunity regarding a third house, um, because it may have to do with an opportunity that you can act upon in the very near future. Um, Also on the 3rd, we have then the moon in Gemini square Saturn in Pisces, and then square Mercury in Pisces, and then square Neptune in Aries. Um, so whatever this feeling you have, this hopeful feeling you have regarding your third house, you're getting some reality checks, like right after, like the day after, because also Jupiter sort of expands or exaggerates, um, but it is still Jupiter. I mean, it is the planet of opportunity, and that's why I mentioned faith. It's all about faith. So the reality check that comes in, just temper it with whatever you're feeling about this opportunity, like if you want to go for it or not. The not is coming in on the day after, um, with Saturn, Mercury, and Neptune, advising against it. But Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and that's why they call Sagittarius the luckiest sign in the zodiac, is because it is never pessimistic about luck and opportunity. So yeah, look about to these few days and something about luck and opportunity regarding your third house. Now, what really starts the show is on April 4th. We have Mercury retrograde conjunct the North Node in Pisces. And I already mentioned what the North Node and the eclipses um, are about in regards to karma and how they may manifest. I already mentioned that to you earlier. Uh, and then it may have to do with that eclipse that we had on mid September, regarding Pisces. So there is rediscussion, rethinking, recommunication regarding something again about the past, but a karmic opportunity that relates to the past. Then we have Saturn in Pisces, sextiling Uranus and Taurus. And this is important, as Saturn and Uranus are inherently opposed to each other in mythology and as far as the archetypes. Saturn wants to slow down, be careful. It wants to build a foundation from ground up, but a solid one. So that's why, taking the time and and doing it slowly. Where Uranus wants speed. It's about electricity, and yes, it's like a top down, because it does have a hierarchical or class system with Uranus. So this nice aspect, definitely here, is something of the old, mixing it with something of the new to solidify um, something in the future, yet able to be loose enough if you are faced with something that may shift in the future abruptly. Saturn and Uranus are working together here. So I've given an example, and I'll mention it here again. Excuse me. Saturn says you need this amount of time and within these ground rules to obtain your objective. Uranus says, but this opportunity that I have, Saturn, will disappear in that amount of time that you're restricting Aries with. So let's jumpstart this. And Saturn, your lesson will be appreciated more in the long run. But we cannot pass up on this opportunity. Um, so something and this is just an example, something where like a couple is trying for a baby, but they can't get pregnant, or it doesn't work out. And in the midst of this, you like walk in on or find your partner like maybe cheating, and then you break up, and later say, "Oh, thank God there were no children involved. Thank God that I didn't get pregnant, or we didn't get pregnant, because that would have made the situation worse." Something like that. Again, it's just an example, but I wanted to mention that. Um, so this sextile can be about something productive, maybe about a job or income. It could definitely be about your values, because Uranus is in Taurus, and your second house of job, income, and your value system. And this sextile, um, this come through a jolt or a doubling down on something. So think of going forward with something and being abruptly stopped with a detail. You retract and figure it out that no, I was right, and you come back with that doubling down. Like you've gone back, you retraced, and you figured it out. Now you're doubling down because you know you're right. And there may be like a shock also, like, oh yeah, it is a new world, and we have to learn on how to move forward with a new understanding, um, with respect to the old. That's how it can manifest. This is also amplified as Mercury and Venus, like I mentioned, still retrograde. And even with Mercury turning direct on April 7th, it really doesn't leave its shadow until the end of April. And Venus doesn't turn direct until May. Um, well, I mean, it turns direct, but doesn't leave its shadow until May. So there is still in front of communication, commuting, commerce with siblings and neighbors, and social media, um, maybe regarding secrets or the past and how you appear, or regarding your image. So still have plan C in mind, especially if you're traveling. I'm talking about uh, Mercury now retrograde, stationing direct on the 7th, but not leaving its shadow until a little bit later, I think a couple of weeks. But I've thrown up the chart for you to see all that, those dates, and with shadow dates. I've put it up for you in the beginning of the video. Um, so yeah, still have plan C if you're commuting, or even if you're traveling. Like make sure your ID hasn't expired or something like that, or have like a list to check off before leave the door. And be careful with commuting, driving, and all that. Uh, and of course, with Venus retrograde, absolutely no permanent physical changes whatsoever. Um, with Venus retrograding in your sign, and avoid big ticket items in regards to something maybe enhancing your appearance. Um, it will station and direct, but it will not leave its shadow until May. Again, those dates are in the lineup in the beginning of the video. Lastly, try to keep above reproach with Venus retrograde in Pisces and then direct in Pisces again, regarding maybe being secretive, um, or about the past. And this is not about the universe trying to hinder or get you back. It is because there is information that you do not fully have yet to make informed final decisions. So just keep track of those dates. And also with your um, home and family situation. Even though Mars, your ruler, is direct and racing in Cancer, but again, because Mercury and Venus are really important here, um, and with their retrograde and shadow, and covering communication, money, and relationships. Yeah, still be still have like a backup plan regarding family or home situation. Okay, so now Mars then enters Leo, and that is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, pets, and gambling. And yes, it can be like casino gambling, but it's also like gambling on life. It's the house of fun, lighthearted fun, entertainment, and it covers true romance, true love. Whatever was happening in one or a combination of these components starting in November and December, that's when Mars entered Leo and then started retrograding, is back on. You will be making decisions with absolute confidence and with a fiery drive. And there will be compassion too, as Leo is very compassionate, and ironically, because of his confidence, Leo has a lot of confidence. So you will be making those decisions to go move forward with a romance, a lover, or regarding a child, or maybe pet. Definitely huge. Your creativity will be just off the charts here. Um, so any creative projects that you may be working on. Let's see. The next important thing is, like I mentioned, um, after the fourth, we have the sixth. Sun in Aries will sextile Jupiter in Gemini. So the sun is illuminating how you appear. It's your yearly checkup on how you appear, your image, what you want to change, and whatnot. And it is forming a very nice angle to Jupiter in Gemini. Um, so and the way you appear, or you look, or your image is giving a boost to maybe a social media profile, or maybe a gathering. Um, a celebration of some kind, maybe in regards to siblings or cousins, or maybe it's going to be like a neighborhood community kind of deal. But an opportunity in regards to your third house and the sun illuminating the way you appear, or how you are seen. This is a very nice sextile, and this will be on April 6th, Sunday. Also, Venus in Pisces is trining Mars in Cancer. So this is giving a boost to your 12th house of secrets or behind the scenes or of the past, and a very smooth aspect to whatever action you're taking in regards to your home and family, or your living situation or your parents. Uh, so maybe you an opportunity. I mean, just a really mundane, silly example might be, you might be getting a nice car, a sporty car, and that shows you off in a really nice light, which which like heals this past image of you, and your maybe parents are proud of you, or you're looking maybe to a new neighborhood to move, and you find like this perfect apartment or house, and that really boosts your confidence, and heals something in the past. It can play out that way. Now on April 7th, we have Venus retrograde, conjunct Saturn in Pisces, and then Mercury will station direct in Pisces. um, so here you revisit a serious matter that you first had around end of January, January 18th to be specific, when the degrees were exact. You could have felt it a few days before or after January 18th. But yeah, it harkens back to January 18th and February 25th. So this is the third time that this is coming up. Um, um, so on the 18th, you might have had maybe family, friends, or something in secret, or something about the past, or somebody who was angry or maybe feeling sad, and they may have taken out that anger on you personally. Um, and I did mention, like, give them space for a few days, since they might have been taking it out on you, and it wasn't personal, or for you it was personal, and for them it was just lashing out. And then on the 25th, Mercury conjunct Saturn in Pisces, and that was serious talks. Um, Regarding something in the past, or about a secret, um, or about faith and having hope. Um, it could have also been about money, because Pisces, again, Neptune in Pisces does oddly have something to do with money. And on the 25th, you might have been dissuaded by obstacles, by the remaining obstacles, and you may have wanted to give up. Um, or you might have found it challenging to put these ideas, because it's Mercury, these ideas or thoughts into plan or emotion, and those challenges may have made you give up. Um, but I reminded you not to give up, because it was Pisces and it's about faith, and the reward would be coming up soon. So, sorry, the recording session ended, so I had to start a new session. Um, so yeah, I was discussing about not giving up, because there's a reward at the end of this trial. Um, but it is a serious matter that you will be revisiting, um, and it's coinciding at the same day that Mercury is stationing direct in Pisces. Um, so now you've heard like both sides of the story, you've processed it, and now you want to discuss or negotiate it going forward. Uh, but still have a backup plan, like I mentioned, because it's still it's just stationing right now, and it'll be in shadow for some time, with Mercury, I mean. But yes, it's about something back on January 18th, or the end of January, and again, about something that you revisited on February 25th, or the end of February, and now it's coming back up again. But here, you start, because Mercury is stationing direct, the fog has cleared. Um, and you can think a little bit more clearly. I say a little bit because the fog might have gone, but there's still a mist because it's still Pisces. So still have your backup plan here. But yes, you've heard both sides of the story, and now you want to discuss a way forward, or agree on a way forward. Um, then we have April 12th. Uh, April 12th, the sun in your sign will conjunct Chiron, and Venus will station direct in Pisces. Another very important day, as you can see the pattern. First, we had something in the past with Mercury stationing direct. Now we have the sun illuminating how you see yourself, or how others see you. It's about your image, your appearance. That is bringing up something, a past wound or hurt, regarding how you were seen, um, or how you appear. And now with Venus stationing direct in Pisces, so smoothing out, and healing that, the past. So now you can move forward with whatever changes you want to make about your appearance or your image. This can also spell out of something behind the scenes, a negotiation or an approval, or um, an, an agreement that's going on behind the scenes. That can play out that way. So you may be feeling vulnerable, maybe in regards to a lover or a child, and are either regretting, maybe letting others know, like maybe you, because you might have started with this relationship holding it very close to your chest, and you might have revealed it, but now you might be feeling vulnerable about, having others know about this, or others are recalling something about you and a lover or a child from the past that caused you angst or confusion, regarding how you are seen, or about your image. Uh, it is because of the serious sun exposing your past hurts again, and maybe in relations to a romance or a child, and in regards to your image. But the sun again is compassionate here, and it may be your own father or a patriarchal figure that you are discussing this with. Um, like, what hurt you in the past, and how you want to change that going forward. Otherwise, it may be a lover or a child reminds you of your own father or a patriarchal figure. Remember, the sun is a fatherly archetype, and the sun rules Leo, and that is your fifth house. This also is the trigger regarding Venus stationing direct in Pisces and your 12th hidden house and the house of the past. However, this time around, you will be either moving forward with understanding how your past has shaped a current romance or a child, and forgiving that slight, or you may start to say that enough is enough, and this relationship may start to disentangle and dissolve, but compassionately, with some kind of a fairness and equality. Um, but still try to remember Venus is still shadow, and you may want to retreat and resolve your own feelings about whether to go forward or dissolve it, because it's still in Pisces. And also, if this relationship, and it might be a business relationship now, or platonic, or maybe in relation to some kind of value or worth, maybe it's a job. So if it is a hidden or secret romance, and with Venus now going direct, you may start to reveal it. Maybe even revealing, a pregnancy, you might, or an engagement, or setting the date, and telling everybody. Otherwise, in regards to value, worth, and business, it can be simply be readjusting up, maybe a price increase of your services or products, or changing financial accountants, advisors, business partners. Or you could have been working maybe on a trade, stock portfolio, maybe in secret, and you start to reveal your hand or your hunches to others. Maybe you had a hunch, um, for example, let's say, with, just as an example, because I'm like blank for examples, but like with the Tesla stocks going down, but you know that Venus is retrograde, and when Venus goes direct, they'll go up, and you have this plan in place, like, like if they reach a certain point, you'll start buying or something like that. Just as an example, I'm not a financial advisor, and this video is in no way giving any financial advice. It's just for entertainment purposes only. Yeah, so otherwise, it could simply have been an internal struggle, and you have an epiphany that that is what has been sabotaging your efforts and how others see you. I'm talking about, with Venus stationing direct in Pisces, your epiphany. You get an epiphany, like, oh yeah, that's what was sabotaging me. And then the next biggest um, event, and which breaks up the month, from like the past 3 months and going into the future, is on the 13th of April. We do have a full moon in Libra, um, and it's at 23 degrees. And remember, Venus rules Libra, so Venus is going to be in the mix somehow as well. And remember, Venus is in Pisces here. So And then the moon and Libra will go on to square Mars in Cancer. So with this full moon and coming out of what I mentioned earlier, with the Sun conjuncting Chiron in your sign and Venus stationing direct in Pisces, and now Venus is the ruler of Libra. Libra is about harmony, but also rationalization and justice. Um, it is an air sign, but a cardinal sign, a cardinal air sign to boot. Now, in regards to a relationship, and only if there are problems with a relationship or certain relationships. Um, Again, I'm going to repeat that. Only if there are serious problems. This could be an ending to a relationship, or if it's not serious problems, it could be an ending to a part or a component of a relationship. Like both of you agree not to be needy in some way, and you put down like tangible rules that you can follow. Um, or it could be a culmination or a fruition of your past efforts regarding a relationship. Okay. Now there is that square from the moon to Mars in Cancer, so this can play out as your family might be apprehensive or unapproving of an ending to this relationship or changing it, or maybe even revealing it. Like they may feel it's not time yet, or there is something that is sensitive about it that they want to maybe think about it, or giving you some advice, or it could simply be changing a family dynamic, maybe moving or caring for someone in the family, or maybe it is just about the contractor um, or a tenant um, that is triggering this square. But it is some sort of ending, like I mentioned, culmination or fruition of your past efforts. It may have to do with the solar eclipse in Libra back on October 2nd last year. Uh, but definitely in relations to this set of eclipses between 2023 and 2025, just to note. Um, the solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd last year was at the same degrees um, as this full moon, if that reminds you guys of anything. So, what is important to remember is that April, like I mentioned early on, is dominated by the three different energies: Mars, Venus, and Pluto. Well, maybe Mars, Mercury slash Venus, and then Pluto. Plus the duality of Mercury and Venus going back and forth in Pisces and your sign. So a duality of some sort here as well. Like maybe the confusion is because there's two options. Um, Sorry, I'm thinking. Um, yeah, yeah, I think it's tied to something about that eclipse, this full moon here, because that was a solar eclipse. So, and Mars is involved, so family is involved. So, think of that and see what it might be about. And also, I always mention this, and I'm mentioning it again. Please do not make any life changing, permanent decisions on a full moon. The moon is full, so it is much brighter, yes, but it is still the moon. The moon is hidden. It's at night. Um, our emotions are ruled by the moon, and they're hidden. Um, Unless you wear your emotions on your sleeve. But there is something that is hidden from you here regarding a relationship or a partnership. Give yourself and others time and space. At least when the moon moves on to another sign, then the emotions are not so high to make decisions, permanent decisions, if you can. Um, let's see. Okay. Now, sorry. Now, the latter half of the month, so after this full moon, and the next important aspect is April 17th, Mercury conjuncting Neptune in your sign at 00 degrees. So, it's the first few, not even a minute, not even 1 degree yet. And then towards the 19th, really gives you a lot of courage here, a lot of resolve to move on uh, with those changes that Mars in Cancer has struggled with. Um, because Mars will ingress Leo on April 18th. It will finish up its stay with Cancer and enter Leo. So you're ready to take it to the next level because we get our confidence in our experiences. Yes, but when our roots are nourished and decisions are made, um, and that's what Mars in Cancer has been doing, and it's finished now. So now when it enters Leo, it's like let's look at at the next phase. That's why I'm saying we finish up the first part of March. We finish up with really what's been happening January through March. the first half of April. And now the second half of April, we're on to bigger and better things with, still a couple of things that need to be tied up, some loose ends, um, because of the shadow of Mercury and Venus. But it's on to the next event. So let's look at the remaining aspects quickly, as I wanted to really concentrate on the beginning of the month in detail. And like I mentioned, I do detailed mid-month to end of the month scope. Um, but I promised I'd go through all of it for you since it's your birthday month. But I'm already almost at an hour, so let's go quickly through it. So the 18th, Mars ingresses into Leo. Now Mars first entered Leo on November 3rd, and then April 19th, Mars in Leo will trine Neptune in Aries. Very nice, and you are something about you take a forward action because you've been reviewing something about children, creativity, um, pets, like I mentioned earlier, and now it's giving, there's some sort of a very nice supportive trine to a yearning, a vision of how you want to be seen or how you are seen. Also on the 19th, the sun will ingress into Taurus, and everything sort of settles down a little bit because Taurus is chill. It is laid back, and you will be reviewing now your job, your income, and your value system. The sun will shed a light on this. And again, every year you do this, but this year it's pretty important because Uranus will be leaving Taurus in June. So it's highlighting the ending of Uranus in Taurus. So changes to maybe job, income. On the 20th, the sun in Taurus semi-sextiles Neptune in Aries. Well, that's a supportive aspect, but I don't even know why I put it in there because it's really a semi-sextile. So um, it's not even a full sextile, but it's a supportive aspect about, again, something about your job or income or value system, and regarding a yearning that you have about your image and your appearance. But Venus in Pisces sextiles Uranus and Taurus. This is very nice. So maybe something that you've been working on behind the scenes or in secret um, manifests into some kind of a support regarding a job or an income or your value system. It can be maybe about creativity, maybe a creative endeavor, um, or a creative project at your workplace, or starting a business about something that's creative, and maybe in the arts, maybe in healing capacity, maybe in self-help. We also have Mercury in your sign, sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. Very important. So you're feeling, see, this is what I meant by, getting up from the slumber. And then now you're thinking, you're communicating, you're discussing, you're agreeing, and with confidence. It's in your sign, and about how you appear, which gives a boost, a supportive aspect to the change you're going through with groups and friends or associations. Now, we do have the Sun in Taurus squaring Mars in Leo. So, this is a hard aspect, um, and it's the Sun. The Sun is powerful, and Mars, is the god of war. So, a this is some kind, whatever's being illuminated regarding your job, income, or your value system, uh, is is squaring an action that you're taking with a romance or a child, um, or a creative project. It's but squares. I mean, it is a hard aspect. Yes, no doubt about it. But it's the sun. The sun is compassionate, um, and squares are good in some aspects where they jumpstart things. Okay, so there may be a realization about um, job, income, or value system in relations to an action you're taking regarding a lover, a romance, or a child, or even a pet. Not to be redundant, but that's what it's coming up. And this is gearing up for the famous and final Mars Pluto opposition that's going to come up in a few days. So the sun is like preluding uh, this conflict, um, and this opposition that's going to come up, because then on the 23rd, the sun in Taurus now squares Pluto in Aquarius. Another powerful day. The sun is at odds with, again, your job, your income, or your value system is at odds with a change that's taking place amongst your groups and friends or associations. It is the sun that is calling out Pluto here. And remember, Pluto welcomes any destructive tendencies as he wants to rebuild from scratch. Yet the sun is compassionate and is trying to reform what is already there. Okay, so that might be the tension that's playing out. The next day, Venus will conjunct the North Node in Pisces, and then Venus will conjunct Saturn in Pisces. Creative projects or money interests get a second boost here because this happened before Venus conjunct Saturn, and you can think back to February 2nd when Venus first conjoined Neptune, the North Node, and the Moon. It was a dreamy encounter then, or one of a secret admiration or crush, or something that could have not been acted on or reciprocated back then. Here, you might get that second chance, and you can feel the seriousness of it. In any case, pay attention to this because this is important to something in the future, especially when it comes up again. And we'll discuss that later on. So then what we have is dum dum dum, the famous Mars in Leo that will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. And like I said, you've been already feeling this intensifying because, like I mentioned, the sun preluded this. Um, the clash of the titans. These are two opposing views, Aries ideologies and actions, and neither will want to move an inch. Um, Neither your ruler Mars nor Pluto. This will be a very, very powerful day. This is the week to start exercising, uh, do meditation, walking, or if you're into running to um, try to burn off this energy. So now think back to January 3rd and November too, with that opposition. When January 3rd, Mars was retrograde in Leo and opposed Pluto. So Mars really was not as powerful back then and might have backed down. So something about your a lover, a romance, a child, a creative project um, that opposed something in regards to your friends, groups, and associations, or your hopes and visions of how you want to be seen amongst your peers. And that really harkened back to a situation back in the fall last year where you or another could have taken matters into your own hands and um, maybe like put someone on notice or taken some justice, maybe even behind the scenes or behind someone's back to help someone out who might have been like an underdog, or you felt that that person you're helping was an underdog or couldn't do it themselves and needed some kind of advocacy. Uh, but you may have like gone behind someone's back or behind the scenes because you did not maybe want to confront um, that person head on. Maybe because you know them and also like them too, and you didn't want to hurt them. Uh, but you chose the lesser of the two to help, let's say. However, that person that was unaware of what was going on also had valid reasons that you were not aware of. Something like disciplining, and this is a really simple example. I think it's a little bit more complicated than this, but something like disciplining a child and your partner, your husband, or your wife lets them off the hook, um, not realizing your point, or vice versa. Um, this is brought home for the second exclamation point around this time in April. You get another layer, another maybe talking down to, but in a way that makes you feel or understand their point or their pain. Um, and again, it's rooted in something in the past. Um, but yeah, it's pretty powerful. And the thing to realize here is Mars, your ruler, like I said, um, is all about heat and action and going forward. Mars asks you, "What do you want?" You say, "I want that," and it says, let's go get it." And it doesn't care who's in front of him. And Pluto welcomes that destruction. He's like, "All right, come on, let's go at it," because Pluto wants to dissolve and completely like knock down the foundation here because it wants to rebuild something, to transform something here. Um, so yeah, it will be a confrontation, and it's rooted back in the beginning of January and also back in November. And yeah, you have to face it here. Um, and I do say oppositions are not necessarily bad because it's in both in interest in both parties, to have their way. So an agreement between the two could work out. And Leo is a compassionate sign, like I said, but Pluto is just take no prisoners. Um, and this opposition is built up. It's just facing the music here. It is going to be a tough aspect. So that's why I say exercise or meditate or walk some of the energy off here. Um, but it is what it is. Now, on the 27th, Mercury in your sign will semi-sextile Uranus in Taurus. Again, this is talk discussion about how you appear, your image that gets a supporting aspect in regards to work or income or your value system. And we have a new moon in Taurus at 7 degrees. Very beautiful. Um, so you get a new opportunity, or you're seeding uh, the hopes for a new opportunity regarding a job, income, or value system. Many of you will start a new job here, or it might be a second job, or maybe it's a new business and you're working and you're doing something else too. Or it could be a promotion, or it could be um, your company, gives notices that it's going to close a department or something like that. But then it might be like, I don't know, like a mass layoff, and one of your colleagues says, "Well, I've been working on this project. Why don't you hop on with me?" or something like that. But it is a new opportunity regarding a job, a new income, and naturally, values, something about your values, new ideas about your values. And then on April 30th, Venus will ingress into your sign. Yay! It's coming out of your 12th hidden house and the past and secrets and entering your sign um, to start the changes that you have been thinking about in regards to how you appear, your wardrobe, your image, and all that good stuff. And you're getting the green light here, but remember, still, it is in shadow until May 16th. It'll come out of shadow on that day at 9 degrees. So, yeah, go ahead with changes that you want to make, but just have a backup plan as it's still in shadow. And when it comes out in shadow of shadow, there might be another reversal or switch or what have you. So I also forgot to let you guys know that be careful with any like feet or foot injuries. Pisces rules the feet, toes, and what have you. So just be careful with like running around, um, and your feet, or if you have like an issue or a pain or something, do see someone regarding that. But it is because of Pisces. Yeah, that was the only last note I wanted to mention, and that's how the month wraps up for you, Aries. Yeah, and I wanted to do a full thing for you because it is your birthday and it is all about you. So if you have any questions or comments, please do throw them in the comment section. I answer all questions, and let us know how this is panning out for you. It might help other people as well. Also, with Pisces, your dreams can be like off the chart or very vivid. With either Mercury or Venus in Pisces. So if you have any unusual dreams that you want to discuss, I do interpret dreams. So you can throw them in the comments and we can have fun with them. Okay, so that's about it. And I shall talk to you at the mid-month to end of the month scope. Take care, Aries. Hello, Taurus. Okay, Taurus, you're up next. So this is the April 2025 monthly horoscope. And I hope you guys are doing great. So what I'll be doing is I will be first giving you a preview of this month, and then I will discuss the major aspects, and not necessarily all the aspects that you see. You might have seen in the beginning of the video where I threw up a planetary alignment and aspects with the degrees. So you can rewind back to that if you haven't seen it and take screenshots. And again, follow with me or match it to your natal chart and see if any of those degrees hit your natal chart. And what I'll be doing is I'll be concentrating more heavily on the beginning to mid month. And the latter half of the month, again, I will only touch on a couple of things that are significant because I will be doing a detailed mid-month to end of the month scope that I will be uploading by the 17th or 18th around that time because April's energies is split up like that in two parts. So let me explain by going into the preview. of April for you. So the beginning to mid-April is something of wrapping up annoying details from March. And mid to end of April is wrapping up the major energies of the last 3 months of January, February, and March, which have some roots in the events of last fall, too. So, yeah, sort of wrapping all that up. Um, and it is mid month that is a little bit more significant in being clear headed, planning final decisions, and facing one or two challenging issues head on. The areas of your life that will be affected are your 11th house of friends, your 12th house of secrets in the past, your first house of image, third house of communication and siblings, fourth house of home and family and parents, and your 10th house of career and status. Seems like almost all areas of life, right? And yes, it is. And when you hear, you've been hearing astrologers talk about huge shifts, huge this, et cetera, and so on. It is because it really is about these huge shifts for everyone, and thus entangling almost all areas of our lives. But it's going in like some some sense and order. In any case, I first want to address why are Taurians getting the raw end of the stick lately? That's what I feel that I'm hearing from you guys. Not literally, I haven't seen any comments like that, but intuitively, let's say. Well, first of all, it is mostly Uranus being in your sign, which Uranus is the planet of shock, surprise, and electricity, and radical changes um, that has been hitting your first sign of your first house of image, the way you appear, the way you are seen. Yes, it does have to do with your wardrobe, hairstyle, physical appearance, but also, yeah, the way you appear. So obviously, internal personality does come through in that regard. And, and Uranus does not do slow and steady. Okay, it likes to change things on a dime. And you do slow and steady. You're an Earth sign, and you're a fixed sign. And that's why you get this feeling like you've been on a roller coaster ride and things coming at you out of nowhere, or you abruptly doing things that surprise even you. Um, but it is mostly early degree Taurians who are having a square from Pluto currently too. So that challenging aspect, you're feeling it, and you may project it onto others, but also because Venus, your ruler, is retrograde. So she's sort of out of her funk until around April 12th, when she will station direct. Hooray! And yes, Venus is quite important for you, uh, not only because she's your ruler, and everything you really do depends on Venus being direct. Um, Plus, Venus will station direct in Pisces, and she is exalted in Pisces. She loves being in Pisces. Then she moves into Aries in your 12th house, your 12th spiritual house. Well, let me not get ahead of myself and go chronologically. I think that works best for everyone than going back and forth. So back to the beginning of April. So we are still coming off of the eclipse energies that we had in March. Um, Mid March, we had that total lunar eclipse in the South Node, where Virgo is, and Virgo is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, pets, and gambling. It is a fun house. It's a light hearted house. And yes, what that, just to recap with that, many Taurians were feeling like they weren't having fun. Like a romance was like work, or even children. And like I mentioned, then, those areas are work. But they're also supposed to be fun. And I remember, I think I said that lunar eclipse is giving you a clue on how to change that, how to get rid of what's not working, and use creativity, because that's a house of creativity as well, to turn it around, or to release what it was not working back then. Um, and then we had the partial solar eclipse on the 29th of March in Aries. And that is, again, your 12th house of the past, behind the scenes, secrets, spirituality, taking care of someone, um, your psyche, and all that good stuff. Um, and those energies are still playing out. Remember, eclipses are unfolding stories of endings and beginnings. So the total lunar eclipse was um, an unfolding story to an ending, and begin. And a partial solar eclipse was some type of a beginning. Now, Virgo is your. Well, I explained that. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Um, what I wanted to mention was about Aries, and I won't go too much into it because Neptune just entered Aries. The eclipse has just happened, and again, eclipse is an unfolding story. But mainly, Aries rules your psyche. So Aries is a go-getter, and it's a fire sign. Um, so your psyche is about action, about thinking um, quickly about how to move forward whenever you encounter an obstacle. Uh, and Aries is ruled by Mars as well. So yeah, there's a lot that goes on in your mind. You're a very chill person, laid back, and actual. And like I said, you're ruled by Venus, so you tend to be more diplomatic. Um, you don't like confrontations and strong or loud words, um, and you're all about creativity. But your mind, your psyche is races ahead of everything. Uh, and also, Aries, like I said, rules the past and something in the past. So Neptune here will actually be very, very helpful. Uh, it will slow down the the need to rush through thinking. It will declutter your mind um, so that you can, because of course, we need to know where we've been to know where we're going forward. So it'll declutter your mind of unnecessary things that you might think of, and smooth that out more, and get you more steady, grounded. And like I said, you're a Taurus. You like to be grounded. You like to be steady. Um, so so that's all I'm going to say about Neptune entering Aries, because it is still at the very early degrees. And if you remember, I did mention that when Neptune enters Aries, it's not going to be like balloons and fireworks. And I mean, yes, it is a huge shift, but it's Neptune. It's the water. It's like a, a smooth transition in that regard. But yes, you'll start feeling this longing, this yearning. You'll very much enjoy being alone and retreating and thinking. Okay, and it'll um, help you heal your mind, help you heal your spirit. It'll just relax you a lot more, especially with having Uranus in your sign and making you maybe do crazy things now and then. Uh, all right, so let us, enough of that. Let us go with April's, what's happening in April. So the first major aspect that we'll be encountering in April um, is really on the 4th, Friday. Um, and again, not necessarily on that day. You can feel it before or maybe even after, because these are the significant aspects that I'm going to be discussing. Okay, and that starts off on April 4th, Friday. So we have Saturn in Pisces sextiling Uranus in your sign. Oh, sorry, that's my pug. Then also Mars in Cancer sextiling Uranus in your sign, and then Mars in Cancer trining Saturn in Pisces. Very significant day, very important day, and a very nice day, especially for you, Taurus. So Saturn in Pisces sextiling Uranus in your sign. This is important as Saturn and Uranus are they oppose each other in terms of energies. Saturn is about patience and time and building strong foundations. Slow and steady wins the race, and about realism, about facts and boundaries. And Uranus, is the fly by the seat of your pants type of planet. It abhors rules and regulations, and just knocks down things. Uh, it's the planet of shock and surprise. It's a very futuristic oriented sign, so you can see the contrast. But here they're working beautifully with each other. It's something about um, the steady, the old, something about boundaries and rules, but a new twist on it, a new way of thinking about it. So your Pisces is your house of friends, groups, and associations, and obviously Taurus is your first house of image and appearance. So uh, something here will be realized about building like a strong foundation regarding your friends or groups, or the obstacles you've been having with that house, or maybe in a particular with a particular friend that you value very much. Is is You are getting a support from a friend or friends or groups about the way you appear, but um, like I said, um, that support is about friends letting you know where it is that you may be projecting some kind of an anarchist appearance to others. Um, and yeah, with the sextile, it's a supportive aspect, so it helps you bounce ideas of how you appear, and how you are seen of a friend or a group. And this would be a very special friend that you've always encountered um, with good discussions. But again, that friend might have been distant in the past, or you may have thought that you've grown apart. But there's a discussion here. There's a support here from that friend, and you might be getting in touch with them, or they may be getting in touch with you. So it is a very nice aspect. Yeah, something of the old mixing it up with something of the new. Okay, and then we have Mars in Cancer sextiling Uranus in your sign. And this is, let me just check one thing. Yeah, Cancer is your third house of communication, commuting, siblings, cousins, neighborhood neighbors, community, but a close knit community, social media, vision and language. And for most Taurians, um, this stems back to last year's September, October, and November. There, for most of you, it's about a sibling or siblings, and having had an issue there where family was also involved, like a mother figure or a matriarchal figure. Um, Extended family can also be grouped up here. Um, and you might yes, so you might have had an issue uh, with the way you appeared again to them, to family, or to siblings or extended family, or on social media, um, and you whatever that issue was, it went back and forth because remember, Mars was retrograde, and now Mars in Cancer, and now Mars is direct and racing in Cancer, and here it is catching up to Uranus in your sign and sextiling. So it's a support from a sibling or a group or a friend um, in regards to your image again. So yeah, friends and family, siblings, close community, they're all rooting for you, Taurus. And they're giving you this much needed support on April 4th or thereabouts. And then Mars in Cancer will trine Saturn in Pisces. So they're reaffirming this your siblings or a close community or maybe a mother figure are reaffirming that aspect regarding friends and groups that may have given you a support or advice on how you appear, and blending that tradition with this new you. Otherwise, this could be simply maybe you are pregnant, or you're showing now a lot, and everybody's excited and giving you like props for being like looking like you're glowing, or something like that. It can be as mundane as that. But very nice day, very nice ending to the first week of April here. Oh my God, my pug is so loud. Um, Okay, and then the next thing that comes up is on April 6th. The Sun in Aries will sextile Jupiter in Gemini. Very nice. Again, Aries is your 12th house of working behind the scenes, or about a secret, taking care of someone, or the past that's lending some kind of a support to something that you have been working on in as far as your job, your income, or your value system. So this area of your life has been expanding since last summer. Your second house of job, income, and your value system. This has been expanding. You've been having opportunities in this regard, and you might be in business for yourself as well, or you might be you might have two jobs. Maybe you're doing your like daytime job, and then you also have a side business where you've been growing it, and you might be in partnership with a sibling or a close community of a group of extended family or cousins. But the sun is illuminating again something that you've been working on behind the scenes or about the past that is being very supportive of Jupiter's energies in your second house of job and income. And this is good. And I just wanted to stop and note here regarding Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter will be leaving Gemini in around June or July and entering Cancer. And Jupiter's opportunities is use it or lose it. So you have a couple of months. So be on the lookout for any opportunities or expansion regarding your job and income here before then Jupiter leaves and enters Cancer. Also on the 6th, Venus in Pisces will trine Mars in Cancer. This is very lovely. Now, Venus is retrograde here. I should have mentioned that. So, something about your friends, a friend or a group or an association that you're reviewing, or there might have been a fallout with a friend or a group, or maybe a distance, or a friend or a group might have from the past might have come back, uh, and you picked up the pieces where you left off last time, and it is affirming your the actions you're taking in regards to siblings, your community, neighborhood, short distance travel, or communication. That's what Venus retrograde in Pisces, trining Mars in Cancer. It's a nice aspect as well. Maybe it's the your communication style here that brings this friend back or these friends back. And then on the 7th is an important day. Venus retrograde will conjunct Saturn in Pisces. And then Mercury will station direct in Pisces. Yeah. So, first regarding Venus conjuncting Saturn, you're revisiting a very serious matter that you first had around January 18th or so, and also February 25th. So back at the end of January, when Venus was direct and it made a conjunction to Saturn, um, there may have been a friend or a group or an association who might have been um, upset or distant, and they may have taken out their feelings out on you, and you might have taken it personally or felt it deeply. Um, and I did advise like giving them space for a few days in the January scope. If I didn't, I think I did. Also, the same thing happening on February 25th when Mercury conjunct Saturn in Pisces. I'm mentioning that because Mercury is stationing direct here on April 7th. So back at the end of February, there was a serious discussion. Um, and, the discussion might have entailed, again, something about an obstacle. And because you have been at this, um, because Saturn entered Pisces back in 2023, so you've been encountering these obstacles with friends or groups or friends being distant or moving away or you cutting off friends. And yeah, since you've been feeling that since 2023, and here on the 25th, this was a very serious discussion that maybe made you feel compassionate but sad, and there was just this obstacle that you didn't know how to get past with this friend, and you may have wanted to give up, or you may have just not seen hope in this discussion, um, and you may have wanted to just give up, and the challenge was to hang on and have faith, and not give up because there would be a reward after. That's what I mentioned in the February scope for that aspect. And here you are revisiting this matter that you had then. With Mercury stationing direct, pay attention to whatever discussions come up with a friend. Uh, Whenever a planet stations, something out of the ordinary happens, where you get an epiphany. You sneak a peek of how this discussion will transpire with Mercury going through Pisces through the remaining time it's in Pisces. Okay, so the next aspect is on April 12th, and this is where um, March is like a confusing energy ends. It's around this time, um, April 12th or mid April and forward. We start getting clarity, more resolve and confidence uh, in making plans and moving ahead. Uh, Maybe with just um, one or two aspects that we still maybe in the fog about, but it starts getting much clearer here. And it kicks off with uh, April 12th. The sun will conjunct Chiron in Aries, and Venus will station direct in Pisces. So first we had um, Venus conjuncting Saturn in Pisces and Mercury stationing direct on April 7th. Now we have Venus stationing direct in Pisces. Now the Sun conjuncting Chiron in Aries, it opposes Libra, and Libra is your third. I'm sorry, Libra is your sixth house of schedules, routines, habits, taking care of someone, small pets. But and again, Aries is your 12th house of secrets in the past or the need to be alone. Um, and Pisces is your friendship house or the way you want to be seen amongst your peers. So this is personal here on April 12th. There's something personal or maybe private, um, because Chiron represents an old wound, a past hurt, and it's a conjunction. And with the sun, it's serious. Um, it's like heavy duty. So it's going to maybe you're having a discussion with an authority figure about a past wound or hurt, and it might be having a discussion with a male authority figure, maybe your father, maybe um, a brother, a husband, or a patriarchal figure. The sun rules Leo, and Leo is a very compassionate sign, mostly because it has a lot of confidence. So, uh, yeah, this, or you might have a wound or a past hurt or a regret regarding an authority figure or a father figure here. But it is, yes, it is something about being vulnerable, something about, yeah, a private matter regarding a past wound or hurt. Um, and it seems it because Pisces also natally rules the 12th house of the past and of secrets and the psyche. So it might be an internal struggle, Taurus, that maybe you've been keeping it to yourself. Um, what will help you here, and that's what the stars are showing, is sharing it, sharing this past wound or hurt regarding an authority figure. With maybe a very close friend, maybe a special friend that you always, knock off ideas to, and you feel safe with this friend. You do have, or a group, um, but you do have this friend or a group that may, maybe recently has been standoffish, or distant, and it really isn't about your relationship with them. Try to think that way. It might be this friend or group have their own internal struggle, and they may seem not like they may seem like they're not their old chipper self, and that's why they may seem distant or cold. But once you open up, that's what I'm trying to say. Once you become vulnerable, and show your vulnerable side, is when these when you'll start healing, and when friends will understand you more. Okay, because you may be feeling like they're jealous, or that you may think that others see you, because remember, again, your 11th house is how you hope to be seen amongst friends, and you might be thinking that uh, everybody thinks that you have it all together all the time, and internally you might be saying, I don't have it all together, but that's what it is. You are not expressing that. You're not expressing that vulnerability. You're keeping it inside. You're keeping it hidden. You're keeping it close to your chest, and that's what's being projected onto friends or a group. Is that secrecy, that coldness, maybe. And if you show your vulnerable, your private side, is when things will open up and become and are healed, because Pisces does rule compassion as well. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention is with Venus stationing direct in Pisces here at 24 degrees, it's going to start smoothing a lot of things with a friend or a group. So don't think that like it's a lost hope, cause, or think that if you do reach out that you'll get rejected again. Excuse me, because like I mentioned, when Venus is retrograde, you see her sort of ugly side. But when she's going direct, um, that's when she's feeling her old chipper self and starts smoothing things out. Venus is the planet of diplomacy. Um, and being diplomatic takes a lot of hard work. So she's gone back and revisited things and gotten information, and now she's about to go forward and smooth things out. Now, the other aspect happens the next day, which is an important aspect. It's a full moon in Libra at 23 degrees. And this is not a completely free and clear full moon. It does square Mars in Cancer. Um, and of course, it opposes um, Aries. It opposes the Sun. Well, that's why we get the full moon. And then it's opposing, not exactly, but it's right in opposition to Neptune, with Neptune being in Aries. So, with this full moon and coming out of what I mentioned earlier, with the Sun conjuncting Chiron in Aries and Venus stationing direct in Pisces, um, and Venus is the ruler of Libra. Libra is about harmony, but also about justice. It is an air sign and a cardinal sign. So, So, something about your sixth house of health habits and routines and scheduling, this might have to do with a job as well, or a daily habit, or it could be about your health. If you have been confused about something about a health issue, here you get a resolution. Um, and this full moon can be an ending, yes, but it is also a culmination or a fruition of your past efforts. And think back to the partial solar eclipse in October. It was at around the same degrees, I believe, but it's connected to that partial solar eclipse. So, whatever new opportunity that you had back then regarding um, a schedule or a routine, it or whatever you seeded back then, you are reaping the rewards or the culmination, or it's coming to fruition here. Or it can, yes, simply be an ending to a repetitive schedule or a routine that has not been working for you, that has been um, maybe slowing you down in other areas. Maybe you have not been delegating something because there's a lot on your plate here. And maybe now going forward after this full moon, you will be ending taking everything on to your own shoulders and delegating some of your routine or scheduling. And if it's about a habit, like I said, or I'm sorry, about a health issue, here you get a realization of some kind, a resolution, because it's an ending. Um, and this square to Mars in Cancer, Cancer is your third house of running around your immediate neighborhood. It's about siblings, um, social media, close community, your neighborhood, communication devices. Um, so again, whatever you might, be, because you have a lot going on with maybe home, with maybe children, um, with maybe a job, and trying to be at three places, three different places, all at the same time. That's where the square is, where it's challenging uh, to um, challenging regarding your third house of siblings or communicating with them or getting to see them more, or with this close community. Maybe you're not able to make certain kind of meetings, or you can't take care of someone, or maybe small pets, you have to run back home because there's somebody you need to take care of, something like that. So that's why this full moon, this ending of a certain habitual routine or schedule that is not working. Maybe that's why this square is to Mars in Cancer. And remember, Cancer also natally rules family, parents, especially a mother or matriarchal figure. So that's all up in the mix. But that's what the full moon does, and at least it relieves your mind of that, because, like I said, you might then be delegating what you've been taking on all by yourself. April 16th, Mercury ingresses into Aries. Remember, Mercury stationed direct in Pisces, and now it's already zooming into Aries. But still, remember, it's still in shadow for another week or so. So even though it's going direct, but the shadow period is very important. Things might still get reversed or misunderstood. So have backup plans, especially if you're traveling. Make sure your ID is hasn't expired, or something. Make sure your notifications are on. If there's a delay or rescheduling because of weather, because we are having severe weather in most of the most of the U.S., and it is because Neptune is changing signs and Uranus is coming to a close in Taurus. So those are huge planets that are making a lot of shock waves. If you notice, we're having severe storms, and that's all about Neptune. So yeah, just still have backup plans. But Mercury here starts to ingress into Aries and your 12th house. Um, and April 18th is quite significant as well, as Mars will leave Cancer and ingress into Leo. So all the issues that you've been having with your Cancer related house, so your third house of siblings, communication, neighborhoods, and communication devices, and commuting, short distance travel, you've had a lot. We've had a rough ride with Mars and Cancer, and Mars just doesn't like being in Cancer. It rules Aries, fiery Aries, and with the retrograde, it really hindered Mars. So we saw a lot of problems, and we'll be relieved when Mars leaves Cancer and those issues stop. And now Mars ingresses into Leo. So think back to November and December, when Mars first entered Leo in November and then started retrograding in Leo in December. Now it will be going direct in Leo. So this is the third do-over. That's the one good thing about retrograde. The universe gives us do-overs. Now we have the full story here. And Leo is your fourth house, Taurus, of home, family, your physical living space. So it can be an apartment or uh, or whatever living condition you have going on. It is about parents, and it is about your country, your patriotism. It's all about the clan. And Leo also natally rules the fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, and pets. So that somehow is in the mix as well. Um, and you had some heat and urgency in regards to home and family, and maybe it included children back in November. But again, December, um, whatever actions you took in November and December, you had to retrace because of an issue. Um, and then, it just fell off the radar, and now it's back. And it might be just mundane, as in renovating something about your house, or maybe something about parents, maybe taking care of parents or a parent. Maybe that issue came up in November, and they might have opposed that, or somebody might have been opposing that idea, and it was reversed in December. But here again, it moves forward. In any case, it's now moving forward in Leo, and Leo is a fire sign, so Mars will have will be acting much better, because even with Mars going direct in Cancer, there was still the iffiness about it. Uh, Cancer is a very sensitive sign, and the heat of Mars is just overwhelms Cancer. So, but here it works really well with Leo, as Leo is extremely confident, um, and that's why Leo is so compassionate, and it just gives Mars a lot of confidence. Again, fire signs. So this transit of Mars will be very nice. So whatever you have about home and family or parents, any issues, now you have complete confidence when it's going direct. And then let me just make sure of something, please, that I'm not missing something. 27th. Uh, uh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, Taurus. I'm just lining up things here, which I should have done. Shame on me before that. So that was the 18th. And then the 19th, the sun will enter your sign, Taurus. And it's all about you, the way you appear, your image, your profile, your wardrobe, your physical appearance, and all that good stuff. And it's your yearly checkup. Um, the sun illuminates things for you to see as well as others to see. And this particular sun entering Taurus is important as it'll illuminate what still needs to be worked on as far as your image and your profile, because Uranus is ending its stay in your sign. Hallelujah. um, you will not be feeling that roller coaster ride any longer. um, like I mentioned, you're a fixed sign, you're an earth sign. So with Uranus having been in your sign, things come at you that you're like, what just happened? So that'll stop come June when Uranus exits your sign. But here, with the sun entering your sign, it's illuminating any leftover hiccups that you might encounter between now and when Uranus leaves your sign, because Uranus comes in with a bang and leaves with a bang. So yeah, pay attention to anything that is being highlighted about your image and the way you appear to others. Then on April 20th, we have both Venus in Pisces sextiling Uranus in your sign, and Mercury in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius. Um, Very supportive aspects, again, between friends. Um, Friends are giving you supportive aspects regarding how you are seen um, and your image. And then there's discussions, maybe in secret or behind the scenes or about the past, that is also supporting your career, your status, authority figures, um, and how you're seen there. Uh, then we, and I'll be discussing this much further and in detail with your mid-month to end of the month scope. But we then start entering some squares between the sun in your sign and Mars in Leo, your fourth house, and then Pluto in Aquarius, your 10th house of career status and authority figures. And it's building up to the famous and third and final showdown between Mars and Pluto. We had that in November, and we had another one in the beginning of January, and now it's the third and final one. It's an opposition, and so it's Mars and Leo. It's your home and family, and maybe children or romance are involved, and it is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. And Aquarius is your 10th house of career status and authority figures. It's a powerful opposition, and it's the final one. So it's the final throes of mm, whatever is stable and old or traditional that's coming up to a head regarding something futuristic and about your career and your status. Um, if there's any relationship issues, and I'm talking serious ones, I'm not talking about little nitpicky issues. All couples, all relationships have issues and small problems. It wouldn't be a healthy relationship if they didn't have that. I'm talking about serious issues. If there are serious issues, there's some sort of there's an opposition here where it might break something. Remember, Mars is fearless, and it goes forward to get something. It only puts something in its mind, and it puts these eye blockers, and it goes forward for it. Um, and like I said, it's fearless. It doesn't care who it runs over. Pluto is fearless in like a savvy way. It welcomes the destruction. Mars will be like, let's go get it. And even though facing down Pluto, but Pluto is the god of the underworld. It's very powerful, and Pluto just stands back um, with a smirk and says, "Okay, come at me. I welcome the destruction because Pluto wants to rebuild something. It wants to demolish and transform something here. So it's yeah, starting the 20th. The energy of that opposition begins to increase um, because the 20th we have the Sun in your sign squaring Mars in Leo. So there's tension uh, regarding how you are seen um, or about your image, and that's with squaring up to family, parents, and there may be children in the mix. Then we have a square between the sun in your sign and Pluto in Aquarius. So again, something about your image or how you are seen, how you're acting, maybe that will have a challenging aspect in regards how authority figures see you, or your career or your status. Uh, and then we have Venus direct that'll conjunct Saturn in Pisces. That's also a serious aspect, but that's a good aspect. And we've had that aspect before, so you're familiar with that energy. And now Venus going direct, very important, and it is your ruler. Um, and again, it is something about friends. So friends, a friend or group is coming through for you here with all these squares, with these challenging aspects. You can fall back on a friend or a group, and Venus is calling them to your aid here. And it's Saturn, so they're solid. Whatever friend is or group is has held out here, they're solid. Um, and then we have, the sun in your sign again, semi-square Jupiter in Gemini. So again, how you are seen, your image or your personality, something there is causing a challenging aspect regarding your job, your income, or your value system. But it's a semi-square here. It is semi-square. It's a quick aspect, but nonetheless a challenging one. Then we have that famous showdown of Mars in Leo opposing Pluto in Aquarius. Family, home, parents, and your career and status are in complete opposition. And some oppositions are good, like I've mentioned before, where both sides of the equation have it in each other's interest. Um, and your saving grace here is Leo, because Leo is very compassionate and it does rule your home and family and your parents. And there's no stronger love than unconditional love, which is family. Um, and there's an opposition with authority figures here. Then we have a new moon in your sign. I'm quickly going over these. I'm just explaining a little bit because remember, I will have a detailed mid-month to end of the month, and I'll go into these specifics in much more detail with outlining the moon. I usually don't do the moon, but because of these challenging squares and this huge opposition here, I will be discussing it so we can further break down what is going on. Um, yeah, so April 7th, we have a new moon in your sign. So again, a new opportunity, or you will be seeding the hopes of a new opportunity regarding how you are seen and your image. And then, which is very good. Um, everybody, everybody will be thanking this new moon in Taurus. It settles down a lot of this squares and challenging aspects and oppositions and all the confusion we've been having with Venus and Mercury going back and forth over Pisces and Aries. So this new moon will be very welcomed. Then the end of the month, the April 30th, Venus will ingress into Aries. So now, whatever confusion you have had in regards to secrets behind the scenes, the past, taking care of someone, spirituality, your faith, your psyche. Um, Now Venus going into Aries direct, uh, you'll 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 be you'll start getting the blessings of Venus, blessing your 12th house. Um, Blessing any backdoor deals, anything in secret, or about taking care of someone. But remember, Venus is still in shadow until about mid-May. So, May 16th, it will leave its shadow at 9 degrees. So still have a backup plan if there is any, like I said, deals in secret or behind the scenes um, or anything like that. Have a backup plan because with the shadow period, there is still a chance of a reversal. Um, So that's how the month ends, Taurus. And if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I answer all the questions. And with Pisces being active here, you might have dreams. And I do interpret dreams. So you can throw those in the comments and we'll have fun with them. Um, Otherwise, the only other thing is just with your third house of running around and your sixth house of routines and all that. And with Pisces rules like the feet. So just be careful of any foot injuries. Any children's toys lying around, just be careful of that. Otherwise, that's a wrap, and I will be talking to you mid-month in your mid-month scope. Take care. Hi, Gemini. Okay, so we're discussing the April 2025 horoscope, and I have put up a planetary alignment, aspect, and degrees in the very beginning of this video. So if you want to take screenshots of that, follow along, or you can just match it to your natal chart and see any if there's any matching degrees and what areas of your life you'll be affected um, um, with with those degrees. I also give you some other dates, just the Mercury and Venus retrograde and direct and shadow periods, just so that you can have it at your fingertips, and a little bit on the eclipse and those dates as well. So the month of April is split up in like two parts. The beginning to to almost the mid of April is really about tying up some loose ends or some confusing issues that we have had with March's alignments, and it could be in aspect to the Mercury and Venus going retrograde. So we'll be wrapping up some loose ends there and getting clear ideas as the mid month to the end of the month is really about making major decisions on some significant aspects that we'll have. The latter half of the month is a little bit more tense as we have a lot of squares and that third and final showdown between Mars and Pluto, the famous last opposition. And Mars is now direct, and Pluto is well planted in Aquarius right now. So it's going to be, yeah, a very, it looks like it to be a very tough opposition, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So in this video, though, I will be concentrating more on the first half of the month, as I will be doing a much more detailed mid-month to the end of the month horoscope that I will be uploading probably by 17th or 18th, thereabouts, to be discussing those squares and that opposition. I'll mention it here, but in detail, I'll do it in the mid-month. So this scope, I don't know how I should do this, giving you like maybe a little preview or just going chronological. And well, I might lose so let me just give you a little preview. So Neptune and the eclipse in Aries, Neptune entering Aries and the eclipse in Aries on the 29th of March. We're still coming off of that eclipse. And remember, eclipses are an unfolding story. And this was a partial solar eclipse in Aries. So this was something of a new endeavor, a new beginning that will be unfolding. They're unfolding beginnings and unfolding endings, what eclipses are about. And Neptune having entered Aries is a 14-year journey. And as I mentioned in my other videos, you might have not even felt it. It's a very slow-moving planet, and it's not even at 1 degree yet. It just entered, of course, so it's only minutes within Aries. So yeah, there was no like fireworks and red carpets when Neptune entered Aries. But and Neptune is water and the ocean. It just slowly overcomes you. So that is also part of the an unfolding story that'll gradually increase in importance. But what Aries is for you is your 11th house of groups, friends, associations, memberships of any kind. And it is your hopes, dreams, and visions of how you want to be seen amongst these groups, amongst friends, amongst others. It's your future outlook. Now, the 11th house is not, it's not a small group of friends. It's not like a small, very close knit community. It's on a much larger scale. On It can include 2, 3 groups that you can be associated with, or one group, but again, with a larger scale, or being involved with those groups, and then the relationships they have with others. So it can be something like your social media followers. It could be like a political group. Um, it could be philanthropic. It can also be like a wellness community, or community that is somehow somehow takes on an advocacy role of some sort, or takes on an issue So it could be like a community of software engineers or computer scientists that are worried about AI and the singularity. It's those kind of groups that you'll be associated with. Um, um, and some friends and current groups will most likely wash away, um, and you'll add others on because the friends and groups you're associated with now, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them will have served their purpose and they will not fit into this new world that you'll be um, very heavily getting involved with. Excuse me. But of course, it's Neptune, so there'll be a very very strong yearning and desire to be involved with them, and you will be involved here. But it may be sometimes at times confusing on what your role is or how to achieve what this community is trying to do. There might be confusion there, or you may be confused at their meaning. Um, Definitely, there will be no boundaries between friends and this community. And taking it down on a smaller level, um, yeah, you might have like a friend ask if they can, if you can help them out, maybe for a few days, a week or so to, stay at your place. And then before you know it, you're going on to 6 months with them still there. It's that type of no boundaries. Just the only thing to be careful about this larger community that you may be involved with, and with Neptune ruling, confusion and fog and the sirens calls is again, please be careful of cults. Do not join cults. I did a video on that Zizian cult thing, and yeah, just being confused, just wanting to belong, and then cults being like opening up their arms wide open. And this week, especially, there is, well, I won't go into the aspects just yet. Let me just give you the full preview of what's going on. Also, what you're preparing for right now is going deep within. So you might be like pulling away from people, or you might be working alone, or um, or just enjoying your alone time as you're trying to declutter this 12th house space, this behind the scenes, the past, because that's what Taurus is for you. It's your 12th house of the past, of secrets, of behind the scenes. It's regarding your psyche, taking care of someone, any hospitals or other confining institutions or spaces, drugs and alcohol use. Um, and you're just decluttering that as Uranus will then switch from Taurus and enter your sign. So again, this month you're looking at your 12th house again, and there's some aspects here. The other thing is Mars. Mars is currently in Cancer, and it is direct, and that is your second house of job, income, and your value system. So many of you might have started new jobs, or you might actually even be without a job currently, or between jobs. So there is worry about money as well. Um, and that's Cancer, and Cancer also rules the home, family, and parents, especially the mother. So that is somehow in the mix here with heat and urgency, and moving forward regarding a job and income or security and values. Then Mars will leave Cancer, hallelujah, and enter Leo. And yeah, uh, also with Mars in Cancer, you might have been spending too much. I don't know if I mentioned that because I'm just thinking way ahead of what I'm talking. I'm also thinking ahead of what to say. So Mars ingressing into Leo will be a much better um, situation for Mars. Mars rules Aries, and Aries is a fire sign. Leo is a fire sign, and Leo is ruled by the sun. But Leo is very compassionate. Uh, so there will be um, heat and urgency and moving forward in regards to neighborhood, neighbors, a very close community, a close knit community, your communication, any communication devices, or cars, commuting. You might be selling or buying a car or getting maybe new electronic device or devices. It is Leo for you is also regarding um, siblings, cousins, extended family. Leo also natally rules love, romance, and children and pets. So that is somehow involved in the mix. And I'll go more into detail when I'm discussing that transit, but it has its roots back in November when something here was started, and then in December it started retrograding. So you either reverse something here, or it just went on dormant. You just put it in the back burner, and now it's coming up, um, so that you're going to start taking care of whatever um, you started back in November, December regarding your third house. And third house also rules short distance travel as well. Now, the other area of your life is your Aquarius related house, Pluto and Aquarius, and that is your ninth house of higher education, of foreigners, foreign lands, um, philosophy, publishing. Publishing is big in the ninth house, and the World Wide Web. So you have started on something, um, on one component of the ninth house, or maybe a couple of them since last year, November, and it has steadily increased here. You might have even published something, or yeah, and working on more publishing, or you're almost done with doing that, or it could be certification, or again something about higher education. Um, but definitely for many of you, it is about some kind of either a relocation or a long distance travel, or maybe relocating a long distance. That's coming up big for you guys here. And again, Aquarius natally rules groups, friends, and associations, colleagues, memberships, your peers. So that's also in the mix. So that's huge because also with Neptune and the eclipse in Aries, that's somehow related. And of course, we have both Mercury and Venus retrograde and will be going direct in Pisces, and that is your 10th house of career and status. And for most of you, you are so done with that uh, because yeah, what the yearning, the desire that you've had for a certain type of a career or about an authority figure or your status of how you want to be seen amongst authority figures has been out of reach, or there was no boundaries there. And especially since 2023, you've had major obstacles with career and status. And that lifts by the end of May, which is only next month. Your career and status is absolutely going to be free of restrictions, and you'll see a lot of options coming in, and it sits really nicely with Jupiter that has been in your sign um, and putting you out there, um, which then switches to Cancer and your second house of job, income, and your value system. So your career and your job, because remember, career is like on a much bigger scale, but your career and your job here are getting a boost. Um, Definitely by when Saturn leaves your career and those restrictions are lifted by the end of May, and then of course Jupiter entering your second house of job and income. So your maybe a new job, maybe a promotion, because Jupiter expands everything, um, and it might be a business. Or a new endeavor, a new venture, and it might include the family. It might be a family business, or again, something about matriarchal figure in the mix. Sorry, that's my pug snoring away. In any case, um, then Mercury and Venus will then start moving forward in Aries, and I've talked about Aries and what that would mean for you and how that could play out. Uh, but with Mercury and Venus, Venus will start blessing that house when it goes direct. Your your 11th house of groups and memberships. Um, it Venus direct attracts money, fortune, fame, and what have you. And then Mercury, of course, your ruler is finally direct and going direct in Aries, and you'll be getting um, agreements, discussions, planning, thinking. about these memberships, these associations, and your peers. There'll be a lot of talking and discussing. Um, and why I'm hesitating is because there was something that I wanted to say that I did not write down, and I'm trying to remember that right now. Yeah, not the best thing to do when you have 12 signs that you want to, but it's like, oh, I remember I wanted to say that, but I didn't write it down. But anyway, when I go through the aspects, then I'll probably remember it because I've written it down somewhere in the aspects. All right, and then we have, like I mentioned, the squares and the oppositions in the latter half of the month. But oh yeah, now I remember what I wanted to say. I completely had forgotten. So with Mercury and Venus that were retrograde in your 10th house of career and status in Pisces, you may have had um, people involved in your career and status or an authority figure come back from the past or contacted you um, that that if you're between jobs or don't have a job or you're looking for a new job, there might have been a discussion or there will be a discussion regarding maybe a new venture or a job opportunity, or again venture as maybe in a new business going forward, and it could have to do with healing, um, maybe spirituality. I'm not saying you're going to be a priest in a church. I mean, you may be, but it could be anything in relations to that. It could have to do with maybe alcohol or medicinal products, um, or maybe retreats or places of healing, something like that. Yeah, that was the thing that I wanted to discuss. So let me now just go into the aspects. And again, I'm just going to be concentrating on the major ones. So the month really begins with April 4th. And again, don't get fixated on the dates because these are major aspects. So you might be feeling them way before and or after. But yeah, on April 4th, Mercury uh, retrograde will conjunct the North Node in Pisces. And I don't mention some aspects for some signs because it's not as important, but I will mention it for others because in this instant, Mercury is your ruler. So that's why I'm mentioning this. And this is like karmic in nature. So there's rediscussions, rethinking about maybe a karmic opportunity that might have come up regarding your career and status. Again, like I mentioned, authority figures or people in regards to your career from the past may have contacted you or you them regarding an opportunity. And this is an unfolding opportunity that'll gain in size because it's the North Node. Um, but that's what's happening on the 4th. And then when Mercury goes direct, it'll make the same aspect, and there will be final decisions there. Also, on Friday, Saturn in Pisces will sextile Uranus in Taurus. So this is what's calling to the future, Gemini. This week, the ending of this week, is calling out to June. And this is, inherently Saturn and Uranus are at odds with each other. Saturn does slow and steady, boundaries, restrictions, time, and builds strong foundations. Uranus is fly by the seat of his pants. It's the planet of shock, electricity, and surprise, and just abhors rules and regulations and just wants to jump things forward. It rules very futuristic Aquarius. Um, I'm so sorry. I just had this urge to like yawn. Um, I apologize. So this aspect is quite important as it is combining. It's a very supportive aspect, ironically, between two planets that are completely against each other. So this is important in the sense that you here are being afforded the opportunity of um, something that's serious and that has a strong foundation. And rules regarding your career and status that is supporting something in regards to um, your 12th house of the past, of your psyche, um, uh, taking care of someone. I'm coming up to the end mark. Let me Yeah, sorry about that. I had to start a new recording session because it only gives me 30-minute increments. Uh, and your 12th house of the psyche is ruled by Taurus. And Taurus is a fixed sign, and it likes stability. Mm, it's very chill and relaxed. And that's how your psyche is. Um, you're fixed in that sense. Um, and Taurus just it takes a very long time to make a decision because it has to be completely sure of itself. And that's what Uranus has been trying to change about your psyche, about your inner world, about the past. Um, it wants you to break free of that mindset as Uranus is preparing to enter your sign and take you on a wild ride. Um, if you have any Taurus people in your circle or in your family, you can attest to and you have experienced the radical changes that's been happening to Taurians in the last 8 years. So you're up next, starting in June. Definitely, your physical appearance, your wardrobe will start to change, but also the way you are seen because of your actions, um, the way you'll appear to others. So April 4th is hearkening to June when Uranus will enter your sign, and this is important um, because it is two very heavy hitting planets. So pay attention to what is going on or about April 4th. Then we have Mars in Cancer that will sextile Uranus in Taurus. Um, and this you might be doing something that you enjoy here. Um, and mainly it might be related to, well, it's your third house of communication, short distance commuting, social media. So you might be in social media and you do have the gift of gab. You are ruled by Mercury. And you can certainly outtalk anyone. So you might be enjoying some kind of speaking engagements or something like that. Or so it may be related to your career, work, and your um, life vision. Or it can be in regards to siblings, cousins, or extended family. But it is a supportive aspect uh, from your third house to your 12th house of your psyche and your the past or taking care of someone. Uh, the 12th house also rules spirituality and faith. And Taurus natally rules the second house of job, income, and your value systems. Okay. So that's in the mix. And it is uh, definitely your values. They're very fixed, they're very steady. And you just need to let go of that past way of thinking as, yeah, you have to change on the inside first in order for Uranus coming and changing you on the outside. Okay. Uh, as well as Mars in Cancer will trine Saturn in Pisces. So another very nice aspect. Again, Cancer is your third house, communication and commuting, um, and which is sending a very nice, mellow, pleasing aspect to any restrictions that you may be having regarding your 10th house of career, status, or authority figures. So that's pretty lovely. Yeah. So the end of this first week is looking to be very nice and important. On April 6th, the Sun in Aries will sextile Jupiter in Gemini. So um, the Sun is illuminating your 11th house of groups, friends, and associations, and it is actually supporting some opportunity of putting you out in front, because Jupiter is pushing you forward to the fore, making you more magnanimous. And I think I did mention this in last month's scope, but a lot of Geminis might be like, "Oh my God, I don't like Jupiter being in my sign. The only thing it's expanding is my waistline." I'm laughing with you, Gemini. But yeah, with Jupiter being in your sign, it's like magnanimous opus. It's like, yeah, making you very magnanimous, and so everybody and their mother is like pulling and tugging at you, and sometimes it can be, even for a Gemini, just like overwhelming and like, please just leave me alone, or you're put in a position where you know you you have to be magnanimous, or you have to, help out. But again, it's serving a purpose. For when Jupiter leaves your sign and enters Cancer, your second house of job and income, it's setting you up, it's putting you up, forward to be noticed, so that Jupiter can work its magic in Cancer in your second house of job, income, and value systems. All right, the next most important thing is on April 7th, Venus retrograde will conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So this is a serious aspect. Also, on the same day, Mercury, your ruler, will station direct in Pisces. And again, Pisces is your 10th house, career status and authority figures, and your reputation. So here you revisit a serious matter that you first had around January 18th, when Venus was direct, and first conjuncted Saturn in Pisces. Um, and this could have been in regards to maybe a romance or a lover or maybe a child. Um, uh, and it or an authority figure, or it could have been family, because parents can be like an authority figure who were maybe upset or sad about something, despondent almost, and they may have taken their anger out on you, maybe, or you them. Um, and it was personal, it was hurtful or what have you. But within a few, space of a few days, you or them might have regretted that and came around. Also, it brings up February 25th, where Mercury uh, also conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So there was more serious talks then, um, about obstacles, and the obstacles that you keep encountering regarding your 10th house of career and status. And you could have like been, okay, I give up, or lost faith somehow. And maybe you didn't, you kept on faith, because Pisces is all about faith. In any case, here it is it is something of that. Well, definitely the January 18th Venus conjunction Saturn, but also um, the talk that you had regarding these obstacles. And now Mercury stationing direct in Pisces. Whenever a planet stations, there is something of the unusual, or a synchronicity that happens, that you get like an epiphany or a sneak peek of what is going on there. And there is your 10th house of career and status, and these obstacles that you are encountering and you want to be free of. And remember, end of May, Saturn leaves Pisces. So these restrictions will magically disappear. um, Now, this is where the month splits up, because March 12th and on, um, we get, March's confusing energies ends around about this time, because we have Mercury stationing direct, and then March 12th Venus will station direct, and so on. So the confusion starts clearing up. We start making clear clearer decisions. Maybe we're like out of the fog, but it's still Pisces, so the fog might dissipate, but we might get um, a mist still there. But in any case, yeah, what I'm trying to say is mid-month to the end of the month is where we're much more clear, but where we encounter some challenging aspects. And so I will touch on some of these. And again, in your mid-month scope, I will go in much more detail about them. So on the, sorry, what in God's name is that? Somebody's warming up their car. Um, so we have the sun in Aries conjunct. Let me see what that is. That is so annoying. Yeah, it's somebody warming up their very battered car, battered muffler, rather. All right. So the Sun conjuncts Chiron in Aries, but most importantly, Venus stations direct in Pisces. So whatever you've been experiencing regarding your career and status, or with authority figures that has been negative, now it will start smoothing everything out. Excuse me. Or, like I mentioned earlier, you may have had people that were associated with your career or status, or maybe authority figures that may have come back, and you might have discussed options regarding your career. Starting on the 12th, this blossoms into something much better, or they might just disappear altogether. Because remember, Venus retrograde um, reverses things, and then Venus direct will sometimes will reverse things again because it's not to your benefit. So whichever it is, but again, Venus a very important planet. Stationing, pay attention to anything that's off or ethereal, or any synchronicity, because it might reveal something to you about how this ending, Venus ending its stay in Pisces, will turn out, or something about your career and status, or with authority figures that will be significant. Um, okay, then the next important thing is the full moon in Libra on April 13th. Um, Libra is your fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, pets, and gambling. Um, it is the house of fun, having lighthearted fun. Uh, it's not a contractual love house. It's not like a marriage house, but it is true romance, true love here that you would experience. And Libra also natally rules the seventh house of relationship, partnerships, and is always striving for equality and justice as well. So there is an ending here of maybe a romance, or um, regarding a child, or maybe a pet. Poor Betty. But if there were major problems, otherwise, it could be a culmination or a fruition of your past efforts, and more specifically to the partial solar eclipse in Libra back in October 2nd, I believe. I think um, those were the same degrees as well. So back then, you might have started something new in your fifth house, or maybe you seeded the hope of something new in your fifth house, and here you are. There's a culmination, a fruition of that, um, and it is squaring Mars in Cancer as well. So there is a hard aspect about this ending um, in relations to your third house of siblings, communication, neighbors, neighborhood, or a close, very close community, um, and family, or a mother or matriarchal figure is involved somehow. Um, let's see. Sorry, I'm reading my notes. All right. The next important aspect um, is on the 16th. Mercury will ingress into Aries. So it leaves Pisces and it starts ingressing into Aries. And again, communication, discussion, agreements, contracts that you had that were fresh and new, and um, very exciting, regarding memberships, groups, peers, associations that started in March. Let me just look. I think I have this memorized by now. um, yeah, that started in early March. Now you start, and then when it retrograded, you had to rethink things because maybe an obstacle or an issue came up. Now you have the full story when it's going direct in Aries, and you pick up those conversations that you had in early March. But remember, it's still shadow, so just have a backup plan, especially in regards to making any decisions, commitments, or agreements regarding this group or association. Um, the 18th also is important, as Mars will ingress into Leo. So it will leave Cancer and ingress into Leo. And that is your third house of communication and commuting. And then think back to when Mars first entered Leo in November 3rd, and then it started retrograding for the whole month of December. So whatever you started, the heat, the action, moving forward with something in regards to your third house, again, maybe a car, maybe communication devices, maybe about a sibling or a cousin, or social media. And then there was an issue where you had to retrace, and then that just got put on the back burner. Now it picks up again with urgency. as it's Mars is already racing through Cancer. So when it hits Leo, those those actions and what have you, you hit the ground running with that. And the Sun will ingress into Taurus. So Taurus is your 12th house again. So the Sun illuminates for you and others to see what's going on. Well, it's your 12th hidden house, so not a lot of strangers will know, or even people you're close to will know, because 12th house is a very hidden house. Only you know what's going on in there. Even astrologers can't figure out what goes on in that house. But um, it's a much more time of calm when the Sun enters Taurus, and it makes sense. We're going into late spring, um, and the excitement of the fresh and new, is calming down, because then it goes into your sign and your early summer. Uh, then after that, that's when we start with the rough patches, with the squares. We have the Sun in Taurus squaring Mars in Leo. So again, your 12th house has a challenging aspect to a romance, a lover, or a child. Um, the Sun in Taurus will square Pluto in Aquarius. Again, your 12th house has a challenging aspect to a group or an association, in regards to your ninth house of foreigners, higher education, publishing, and the World Wide Web, um, or a long distance trip. There's just something going on in your hidden house that is causing all these squares that you need to clear out. Um, and then we have on the 24th Venus direct now conjunct Saturn in Pisces. And that is a serious aspect as well. And it relates, again, to what I told you earlier, when, let me see, on the 4th, was it the 4th? Or was it the 7th? Yeah, it goes back to January 18th and what was going on back then. Um, and then April 25th, we have the Sun in Taurus, your 12th house, that will semi square Jupiter in your sign. So, again, something about the past or your psyche that will, you know, have a challenging aspect, but it's a semi square, so it's a quick, challenging aspect in regards to how you are seen, um, how Jupiter is expanding this image of you. And then we have the third and final uh, clash of the Titans, um, the famous Mars uh, Pluto opposition on the 26th. And we're going to be feeling this probably around with that first square that I mentioned, starting the 20th, with the Sun square Mars. And then we have the Sun square Pluto, and then Venus conjunct Saturn. So it's building up. The opposition is building and building. So here, again, Leo is your fifth house of love, romance, children, and creativity. And it is in complete opposition of this, um, your ninth house. Sorry, that's my bug. Of higher education. He's so loud. Higher education, foreigners, long distance travel, publishing, and the World Wide Web. Um, So there's heat and action in regards to your fifth house of romance. This may be like a romance, and something is happening with your career, um, and you're having to move, or it could be higher education, and you're going to school abroad or out of state, and this is what's causing the opposition with your love house. Or it could be a child. Um, Again, if you're going away to school or being more out of the house, or um, if your career sends you abroad or something, that may be that opposition. It could be a whole host of reasons, but I will be breaking it down in much more detail in the mid-month to end of the month, because I'll include the moon and other aspects. And I usually don't do that, but because this is an important aspect, I'll be doing that because we want to break it down. But it has its roots in the first opposition, which happened between Mars and Pluto in November, the beginning of November. And then we had the second opposition towards New Year's Day. Yeah, the recording ended. Sorry. Yeah, so the second opposition was New Year's Day, and now we'll have the third. And the New Year's Day wasn't as potent or significant, maybe because Mars was retrograde back then. But now Mars is just racing forward. And like I mentioned, if you know, Mars is fearless and Pluto welcomes the destruction, so he can rebuild. But yeah, this is the final showdown. I'm calling it the Clash of the Titans. But I will be discussing it much more in detail in the mid month. So on the 27th, there's a new moon in Taurus, and this is a new opportunity, or you'll be seeding the hopes of a new opportunity in regards to your 12th house of the past, um, of behind the scenes. You may start a project behind the scenes, or of taking care of someone, um, or spirituality, or faith, um, or clearing out something. But there's this new moon is significant as again it ties in with Uranus leaving Taurus, and Uranus usually comes in with a bang and leaves with a bang. So yeah, just be on the up and up with anything behind the scenes, um, or in secret, as before Uranus leaves Taurus, it will reveal anything like that. It will make it public. Again, I'll discuss that more in the mid-month. And then the month ends with April 30th. Venus ingresses into Aries. So again, with in regards to groups, friends, and associations, and also your hopes and visions of your future, of how you want to be seen among these peers. Um, Now, Venus is direct, and it will start blessing this area of your house. So anything that was maybe derogatory or confusing now gets reversed. But remember, again, also with Venus, it's still in shadow, and it will be in shadow until May 16th when it comes out of shadow at 9 degrees. So still have backup plans in regards to these groups, friends, and associations. Um, Let me also mention, um, I want to make sure, sorry, that the notes that I had earlier, oh yeah, I covered that. So you're good to go, Gemini. All right, so that's how the month ends. Um, and like I said, this week calls to June, Gemini. So you do have until like June to figure out who you are on the inside, to start setting up the, like I said, if I didn't, I'm just not sure if I mentioned this, but to set up like, because Uranus in Gemini, it's all about the way you appear in your physical self. So setting up the social media profile, the posts, the avatars, haircuts or style, any cosmetic surgery, headshots, a new wardrobe or uniform or armor. You're going to be going with completely different colors than what you're used to. Maybe you will be called to an interview this week, and you dress for the job, the social media post, or setting up. Maybe you're setting up a merch store of some kind. The possibilities are endless, but just pay attention to this week as it does call to June, and that's how the month ends. And if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. I answer all questions. And with Pisces, um, hanging out with us this month, you might have vivid dreams or unusual dreams. I also interpret dreams, so you can throw those in the comments and we'll have fun with them. Otherwise, take care of yourselves, and I will be talking to you mid month. Hi, Cancer. Hope you're doing well. This is your April 2025 horoscope. And in the beginning of the video, I have thrown up a planetary alignment and aspect with degrees for you to take a screenshot and follow me along, or compare it to your natal chart and see if any of those degrees hit anything in your natal chart, to get a clearer picture. Yeah, and I'll just get straight into first giving you a preview of how April is set up, and then go through the aspects and try to figure out how it relates to you, Cancer. So, April is set up in two parts. Beginning of April to mid April is really wrapping up some details and information that has been going on since end of February and March. And then the second half of April is a little bit more significant with harder aspects a full moon and a clash of the Titans opposition during the end of the month. And what the latter half of the month is really doing is wrapping up January, February, and March. And, you know, uh, these three, the first quarter of this year is really an extension of last fall. So all that information is wrapped up during the latter half of um, April. And I will be doing a detailed mid month to end of the month horoscope for you guys, because I will not be able to do it justice in this scope, because I don't usually do like minor aspects and moon aspects, because they're fleeting. A moon is only 2.5 days, and then it moves on to the next sign. But with the mid month to the end of the month, I will be including those so that we can really delve deep into it and see exactly what what is happening. But I will be touching on a few aspects and generally describing them for you in this scope. So that's how April is set up, and that's what I'm planning on doing is go heavily into the first half of this month and just give you a general view of the latter half with a mid-month to end of the month coming up later. Be uploading the mid-month probably around the 17th, the 18th that weekend. So let's begin with what stands out. Sorry about that. Is on the 4th, April 4th. We have Saturn in Pisces sextiling Uranus in Taurus. Um, and this is important as Saturn and Uranus are really two very different energies. One, they're important is because they're both um, important heavy duty outer planets affecting slow change, so grinding slow change. And but they're they're opposite energy. So Saturn wants to do things slow and steady, and it wants to do things by the rules, with restrictions, because Saturn wants to build a strong foundation and from the ground up, so nothing can knock it down. Saturn rules Capricorn, and Capricorn is a very pessimistic, slow social climber. So think of that. Whereas Uranus abhors rules and is the planet of electricity and racing to the future as it rules Aquarius. Aquarius is a very quirky, future-oriented sign, and Aquarius and Uranus does things really from the top down because, ironically, it does have. It is all about humanity, humanity and the good of humanity, but ironically, it does have like a hierarchy mixed to it, or like a class system. So yeah, those are the two contrasting views of these two planets. So this is a very nice aspect between these two opposing planets, Saturn Pisces sextiling, supporting Uranus in Taurus. And Pisces is your ninth house of higher education, foreigners, long distance travel, philosophy, publishing, and the World Wide Web. And you've had a run of this. Yeah, you understand this energy as Neptune has been in Pisces, and you've experienced that journey for the last 14 years. And since 2 years ago, since 2023, you've had a tough time with something in regards to the ninth house, maybe a sobering experience and restrictions with it. Excuse me. So, so those are the two, and then Taurus is your, excuse me, is your 11th house of friends, groups, associations, peers, colleagues. Um, it's it's like a camaraderie type of a house. It also is your hopes, dreams, and visions of the future, of how you want to be seen amongst these peers, of how you want to be seen out in public, how you want your image to be portrayed. So again, to have opposing and powerful outer planets like this working with each other here is a miracle and should be embraced. So again, some type of seriousness or restriction or concern regarding your ninth house of education, foreigners, long distance travel, publishing, is being very supportive regarding something about your friends or groups, or how how you're seen amongst them. Uh, and these are, like I said, tough planets. So getting them to work with each other is somewhat tricky and a little difficult. So what your role here is just to keep your nose down and shoulder to the grindstone, and just keep yourself focused to what you are trying to achieve, and the universe will do its trick, will with these opportunities, um, which gives you um, the examples of maybe opportunities with both supportive aspects between Mars in your sign and Uranus in Taurus on the same day, because we have Mars in Cancer, that sextiles Uranus in Taurus, and then Mars again in Cancer, your sign, that trines Saturn in Pisces. Again, something about your image, about how you're seen, um, your profile is again supportive of your vision of the future, and also has an embalming effect, uh, and a very nice trine to whatever you're building under restrictive conditions, regarding your ninth house of higher education and publishing. So that's how the month actually opens up on the first week. So very nice intro into April. Sorry, that's my pug snoring. And then we have, so yes, we're on the 6th now. Um, we have Venus retrograde in Pisces, trining Mars in your sign. Um, and Venus retrograde in Pisces, again, Pisces is your ninth house, and Cancer is, well, it's your sign, but it's your first house of image and the way you are seen. So this aspect can translate as a maybe something about like a West Side Story or a Romeo Juliet, actually, kind of a romance, relationship or friendship, where it's no doubt a beautiful love story, uh, but um, but others, maybe like family, friends, or colleagues, may point out uh, the differences between the two of you, and and if it is, as you know, something that's not significant, you should heed their warning. But if it is something serious here, um, just understand that you will um, encounter obstacles in the future, and or this relationship might just fizzle out or turn into something not as romantic when Venus goes direct, because Venus is retrograde, and it can be someone or a relationship from the past, and in regards to your ninth house. So it could be um, a, a, a school a romance, maybe when you were at school, or uh, maybe when maybe with a foreigner, or maybe where you visited, traveled to, and met someone, maybe tall, dark, and handsome, and it was fleeting, and now this person is back in your life for some reason to see what they can make of it, or you of them. It could be that, as far as a relationship, or it can have nothing to do with relationships, and it can be about your higher education or certification, and you're just having this revisit, rethinking, the passion that you had for it has somehow turned against it, or maybe it's an internal struggle that you feel uh, that's not where you want it to be. However, you still see yourself in a good light because of having gone through it. Like you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve, or it was always like maybe not enough. Maybe you wanted to get a master's or a doctorate, but you could only get a bachelor's, or maybe you could only get a master's and you just were not in the position to move any further. Something like that. But the efforts that you have put in still is putting you in a good light. Or it can be about a long distance travel again. Uh, you might be romanticizing something about that, and looking forward to it. But again, because it's retrograde, and when it turns direct, you might not feel the same about that. Let me just do one thing so I can see the time. Okay. Then we move on to April 7th. Venus retrograde will conjunct Saturn in Pisces. And you revisit a serious matter here that you first had around January 18th, the end of January, where Venus was direct and it conjuncted Saturn um, in Pisces. So again, it's something about your ninth house. Uh, and you could have had maybe, again, a relationship with a foreigner, uh, or with somebody who was at a distance. But uh, but that serious matter at the end of January might have been in regards to maybe mm, a heated argument or discussion where that person or you could have been upset, angry, or maybe even despondent, and someone took it out on someone. So if it was them angry or despondent and they took that out on you, or you could have done that to them, and it could have felt really personal. And within a few days span, both you and them realized that that's what it was. It was not the relationship or the person, but most likely what was going on internally and projecting it onto the other. So um, here on the 7th, that discussion, that feeling, that intensity is revisited here. But Venus is retrograde here. So you're digging a little bit deeper under to find out what really was triggered. And then when Venus goes direct again, then you have the full story and you will have that conversation again. Um, the other thing is Mercury will station direct in Pisces. Uh, and Um, I just want to take your mind back to February 25th for that, as Mercury conjunct Saturn in Pisces then. So there was some serious talk at the end of February regarding faith or giving up on something, uh, holding on to something, or just giving it up. And now with Mercury stationing direct in Pisces, the past 3 weeks may have been tense or intense, as in getting anxious or nervous about maybe confusing thoughts or messages regarding your ninth house. Uh, and with that discussion on February 25th, that was serious again about this. Um, on top of the lunar eclipse in Virgo mid March, and Mercury ruling Virgo, uh, Mercury rules the higher octave of Virgo. Uh, uh, so not only does the confusion and missed signals at least stop starting, on April 7th, starting the beginning of next week, uh, but the nervous anxiety calms down to a zero almost, and you get your confidence back. I was just hesitating because I was just looking at the February 25th deal, and yeah, that confidence, that faith comes back in play. But just remember, there is still a shadow period, and it is Mercury is just stationing direct here. It hasn't really gone forward, um, so give it a little bit more time. But because of the shadow, also have a backup plan um, in case there's any traveling, commuting, or communication in regards to your ninth house. Maybe an interview or something. So research. Uh, Still, and have that backup plan. But pay attention to the conversation that may occur regarding your ninth house here uh, on April 7th. Because I always mention whenever a planet stations, uh, some type of synchronicity, something out of the ordinary happens where um, you get like a sneak peek. Okay. And then we move on to April 8th. A Tuesday where Venus is still retrograde in Pisces, sextiles Uranus in Taurus. Very lovely here. This aspect is um, beautiful as it is, uh, as it looks, but it should be taken with a grain of salt still, as Venus is retrograde. So, Venus retrograde in Pisces, again, your ninth house. Here you are reviewing, digging a little deeper regarding higher education or a foreigner or publishing, but it's lending a supporting aspect in regards to something about friends groups or your vision of how you want to be seen amongst out there in the world. Uh, so that supportive aspect that's coming in through the ninth house is where you need to uh, be just a little bit cautious. Um, and also, this may have to do with someone coming back um, from the past in relations to your ninth house, because Venus is retrograde here. It might be a former school mate. It might be a professor. It might be someone you worked with. Maybe you were in the teaching field, and this was somebody you worked with. It might be a foreigner or someone you might have been involved with in as far as publishing, uh, and they're lending this support. But again, it's Venus retrograde, so just be careful with any commitments, as when Venus turns direct, they may change their minds, or you may change your mind, or they may simply not be in the position to go through with what they agreed on uh, when their circumstances also changes when Venus goes direct. All right, and it can play in a lot of ways, but yeah, just have backup plans if that this thing falls through. All right, on April 11th, Mars in your sign will trine the North Node in Pisces. That's a very soft aspect, and you may not even feel it. Um, but it's something about your image, the way you are seen, that has a very uh, pleasing aspect, soft, embalming aspect in regards to a karmic opportunity regarding your ninth house. Now, March 12th and on is what I'm considering to be mid month to the end of the month, even though it's a little bit earlier. But with March's aspects and forward, um, the small, annoying, confusing things that you we had in March really wraps up in the beginning of this beginning of April. And now, April 12th and forward, we're going to be encountering much more serious aspects like squares and a big opposition, which wraps up January, February, and March, and an extension a little bit, what started in fall of last year. Again, I'll go over only the major aspects, and with the mid month, I'll do a much more in depth review. So on the 12th, of April, we will have well, first, Venus will station direct in Pisces. Very, very important. Uh, so, Venus retrograde may have, you may have seen the ugly side of Venus. Venus attracts money, love, fortune, and fame. When it is retrograde, it pulls that back, or it becomes finicky. I always don't like saying it pulls it back, because who would do that? But um, yeah, Venus loves like diplomacy and uh, the finer things in life. It's luxurious, and yeah, just think of a rich, rich woman that loves and then getting slighted, and her being like ugly just doesn't suit her. In any case, you might have experienced some ugly things when Venus was going retrograde in regards to your ninth house, or you could have actually um, experienced even more lovely things. Um, it could have played out that way regarding your ninth house, because retrograde, it just goes deeper to unearth other things. It's looking for more information that it missed the first time around. In any case, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. She loves being in Pisces, even though she rules Taurus and Libra, but she loves being in Pisces. The energies sit really well, and you're a water sign as well. So this will now moving forward. Um, your ninth house matters are going to be flowing very smoothly. Um, you might even there might even be money to be gained here because Venus attracts money, and Pisces, oddly enough, has something to do with money. But it is your ninth house of higher education and foreigners and so on. Uh, Maybe you win a scholarship if you're a student here. If you were thinking about applying for a scholarship, April 12th and on would be a good time to do it, or financial aid, um, because that's when Venus is direct and blessing your Pisces related house, and she is exalted in Pisces. So everything will work out there. Now, the other thing that happens on the 12th is we do have a full moon in Libra. And full moons are endings, or a culmination, or a fruition of your past efforts here, and probably from 3 to 6 months ago, and probably in relations to the partial solar eclipse we had in the beginning of October 2nd, uh, we had in Libra. and it's at those same degrees, I believe. So it's somehow related. And this full moon will be something of a like a bittersweet moment for you. Um, so Libra rules your fourth house of home, family, your parents, your country, your clan, your patriotism. Um, it's all about that. And um, this full moon can be like maybe a bittersweet moment of, having taken people or places for granted. Um, or it can, because of an ending here, or it can be a culmination of your past efforts, a fruition, and uh, most likely, and sure enough, it does relate to that partial solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd, last fall. It's at the same degrees as well, with what was playing out back then. And again, this might be, if you were moving, it's the fruition of your labor here, or the culmination if there was maybe a renovation or something like that. Or it could have been on a more serious note. Maybe your parents um, are needing care more, or a parent, you need to care for a parent, and here something ends about home and family, something changes. So it can be as mundane but serious as that. But some kind of an ending or a culmination is is taking place here. And then the next most important aspect um, that I'll briefly mention is April 16th. Mercury will start its ingress into Aries. It'll leave Pisces and enter Aries. So now the communication, conversation will start in regards to your career status, reputation, and authority figures. So think back to the conversations, ideas, maybe agreements, contracts you had in regards to your 10th house, um, back at the beginning of March, when Mercury first entered Aries. Then, and these conversations or ideas were very exciting, very fresh, energetic, and new, springy new. But just as you were getting in that groove, mid March, those conversations either were halted abruptly or put on the back burner as you started thinking about or discussing something about your ninth house, because Mercury then entered Pisces. So now, starting mid April, you revisit those exciting conversations and ideas regarding your 10th house. Uh, but you might find, those same people that you had conversations with, who were on board or shared your interests, might be like, oh, yeah, but I can't just now, or I have other priorities. Um, And that is okay too, Cancer, because remember, these huge shifts that are taking place are not just affecting you, they're affecting everyone. And and not everyone may have your tenacity, um, or they may be going through some really uh, rough and tumble time. So no worries, because there are plenty of fish in the water who feel the same way as you, and it is only a matter of time with the universe to set up a synchronicity. But yeah, you'll be revisiting those, and you know it might be an another scenario where they come up with even better ideas and are more entrenched and on board with you. So it can play out either way. Um, the next most important thing that happens is on April 18th, Mars will leave your sign. Can I get a hallelujah? Hooray! And then Mars will ingress into Leo. Uh, so most of you have not really appreciated Mars being in your sign. Uh, and Mars has a difficult time in your sign because you are a water sign. You are very sensitive, very very nourishing, nurturing and caring, nourishing, uh, and Mars rules fire Aries. It is the god of war. It is all about heat and action and war. You dislike that, um, and you might have had. Uh, and I'm not laughing like that, but you might have had like minor injuries, like scrapes or cuts, with Mars being in your sign, because it just pushes someone forward. The good thing about Mars being in your sign is definitely you stood up for who you are and who you want to be uh, seen as, because it's about your image. If any of you wanted to go on some kind of a regime or change or something, this really did give you a push. So that's the good part. But yeah, the bad part was it didn't mesh with your energy. In any case, now it ingresses into Leo, and just watch your spending, um, because Mars tends to burn a hole in our pockets when it's in the second house. Uh, or it can be about your job, um, maybe switching jobs, maybe changing positions, maybe pushing for promotions, um, um, or a pay increase, or maybe it's about a business situation. Leo also rules as the fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, and pets or gambling. And that could be somehow in the mix. Okay, where was I? Yeah, I had to switch because I came up at the 30-minute mark, so I had to um, switch recording. Okay. Oh, yeah. We're on the 19th. We already discussed the Mars ingress into Leo. On April 19th, we do have the Sun ingressing into Taurus. So the Taurus season begins. And, this is a little respite here because Taurus is an earth sign. It is a fixed sign. It wants stability and calmness. Uh, so you get that, that steady foot. Um, Earth signs and water signs mesh really well. They solidify really well. So you get a little bit more clear headed here, and in regards to your friends, groups, associations, or your vision of how you want to be seen. Also, Taurus rules natally the second house of job, income, and value system. So that is also related somehow with your 11th house. Um, but then we start with the squares. Um, we start with the squares. Right the day after, we have the Sun in Taurus squaring Mars in Leo. Uh, so the Sun now is illuminating your 11th house of groups, friends, associations, any kinds of memberships, lodges, uh, and what have you. Uh, and again, your vision of the way you want to be seen. And it's squaring Mars in Leo. So it's a square is a hard aspect, but in this regards, it's a hard aspect in relations that it's costing you money somehow. This sorry, there's this this bird that's like eating through the wall underneath my air conditioner. It set up a nest, and if I don't bang on that thing, it's going to burrow a hole. And okay, stop. Sorry, you guys are going to get to know me really well. It's going to burrow a hole in the wall and just come into my living room, which I don't mind. It's just that they have mites in their nest. But anyway, completely random, I know. So yeah, it might be costing you money somehow. And then we have, another square with on the 23rd, the Sun in Taurus this time will square Pluto in Aquarius. Um, and Aquarius is your eighth house of joint finances, intimacy, taxes, government benefits, um, inheritance. It is the house of how other people value you or how you benefit from other people in as far as gifts or lump sums of money. So again, something about friends, groups, associations, or your hopes and visions of the future that is hitting your money access house again. Uh, or it could be about intimacy. Um, and this, I don't think this is something new. You probably already know what this is about. And when I do a deep dive in the mid-month scope, um, I'll get a clearer picture. But just letting you know what that transit is about, but you probably already know what it is about. And then, we have another serious aspect with on the 24th, Venus direct will conjunct both the North Node and Saturn in Pisces. So, some kind of a restriction. There's a seriousness about this too, some kind of a restriction and about karma. um, a karmic opportunity in regards to your ninth house might play out for you directly, or it might be playing out where um, it's someone close to you. And then we have the Clash of the Titans, the final showdown on April 26th. It becomes exact. Again, these energies that I'm talking about is not about that day or time. Uh, we will probably be feeling this Clash of the Titans way before, maybe even starting mid April. But April 26th, Mars in Leo will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. And oh God, I have to, the bird is almost, I have to bang on the thing. So I'm going to stop this. I apologize. I feel like such like, the absent-minded professor with these birds. Oh my God. Well, they do their right. They work early in the day, and they're probably confused. Like, why is this woman banging? Why won't they? Why won't she let us fix this nest? Uh, in any case, yes, it is Mars and Leo. So there's again action, heat, urgency in regards to your job, income, or your value system. Any one of these three. And Leo also natally rules love, romance, children, creativity, pets, and gambling. So that somehow may be in the mix as well. Um, and it is a powerful opposition. It opposes Pluto in Aquarius. And Aquarius is your eighth house, as I mentioned, of intimacy, joint mortgage, finances, government benefits, taxes, and all that. And as I've mentioned before, but for the sake of new listeners, Mars is the god of war. And Mars knows only one thing, is going forward and getting what it wants. So Mars will ask you, what do you want? And you'll say, I want that. And he says, let's go get it. And he is fearless. He's the god of war. He doesn't care who's in front of him. Even if it's a fire breathing dragon, he'll just go at him. And of course, Pluto, Pluto is a very, very powerful planet. I'm sure the one who demoted him from a planet regrets it now. But Pluto is the god, small g, of the underworld. Very, very confident. And Pluto invites that destruction. He wants Mars to destroy something because Pluto wants to rebuild. And for you being a Cancer, a water sign, you get caught up in this mess. You're sensitive and you don't like these kind of confrontations. Um, it's not like, an Aries or a Sagittarius that will be like, yeah, let's go, head in first. um, So this has its roots back in November when Mars um, was just was in your sign and exiting to enter Leo, and it formed this opposition back then. Uh, and then whatever you had heard, were working on with urgency and heat in regards to a job, income, or value system in November. Then Mars stationed retrograde, and you started reviewing all of what you had uh, accomplished in November, and starting maybe reversing decisions here because Mars was retrograding all of December. And then New Year's Day, the first or the second, um, again, Mars and Leo opposed Pluto and Aquarius for the second time. So think back to then. And that opposition wasn't as powerful as Mars was retrograde. So he was a little debilitated uh, against Pluto. But now, here, Mars is completely wound up. He's ready and he's raring. He's been racing through your sign, uh, and now races into Leo and dead smack against Pluto. So just have backup plans. Um, have backup plans in regards to job, income, and your value system. And yeah, something about joint finances and all that. And when we do the mid-month, again, I'll be delving much deeper with other angles, other planets that'll be in play, and we'll try to figure it out more together. Then we have a new moon in Taurus on the 27th. Uh, and this is a new opportunity or seeding the hopes of a new opportunity in regards to your Taurus related house. Again, that is your 11th house of groups, friends, associations, and your hopes and visions and dreams of the future. Uh, And again, this new moon is being challenged by the square to Pluto, because there's Mars and Pluto opposition is still in play, and there's a square to Pluto. So again, we'll do a deep dive into that. And then on the 30th, so 4 days later after the square, it's disengaging. We have Venus ingress into Aries, which is very nice, much needed. Um, and your Aries related house, which is your 10th house of career status and reputation, um, and authority figures, which it will be now smoothing over and attracting good things and money and all that, with Venus going direct. Just remember, she's still in shadow, um, and will not exit her shadow until May 16th, when she's at 9-10 degrees. So also still have backup plans in regards to any commitments, any agreements, any passionate things going on with your 10th house. And that's how the month ends, Cancer. Thank you for your patience. And if you have any questions or you're confused about anything, throw them in the comments. I answer all the questions. Also, with Pisces activity here, you might have vivid dreams or interesting dreams. I do interpret dreams. You can throw those in the comments and we'll have fun with those. Uh, Otherwise, I will be talking to you with your mid month scope. Take care of yourselves. Hi, Leo. Hope you guys are doing all well. And this is your April 2025 horoscope. In the beginning of the video, I have put up a planetary alignment and aspects with the degrees. So you can take a snapshot of that and follow along with me. Or you can, just later match to your late natal chart and see if it aspects any degrees in your natal chart. Uh, so, yeah, let's get straight into this. Um, so April is split up in half. The beginning part of April to mid month is really about wrapping up some things that have been going on in March. Any confusion, anything like that, uh, we're wrapping that up, or dealing with those annoying details in the beginning part of April. The latter half of April is um, wrapping up and planning final decisions about the first quarter of this year, the last 3 months of January, February, March, which has its roots um, in fall of last year. So I don't remember which video it was, and maybe you're a new listener, but I did mention that January through March was really an extension of last fall, and April really separates the that half that that past from new things that are happening in the spring and summer. Uh, so that's how the month is set up. And what I'll be discussing today is I'll go into full detail about the beginning half of the month uh, regarding the aspects, and I will also touch on the latter half of April with the major aspects. I won't go into full detail as I am doing a detailed mid month to end of the month scope, because the latter half of the month are some heavy duty squares, and the famous third and final showdown between Mars and Pluto. And Mars is in your sign, Leo, and Pluto is in your partnership house. So it's a very big deal. Um, and that aspect alone would probably take about an hour to discuss, because it's not a standalone aspect. There's other things involved. So yeah, I'm going to do a mid-month to end of the month, and I don't usually mention moons or minor aspects, but I will be doing that as we narrow down and focus um, on more of what's going on, so we can figure out what it's all about. um, yeah, so let me first start off with uh, the beginning of April. Now, we are still coming off of the eclipse energies that we had in March. So, mid March, we had an eclipse in Virgo. That was a total lunar eclipse, and that affected your second house of income, your job, and your value system. So, something ended, um, or it came to a fruition or culmination, but most likely something was eclipsed out. of your life in regards to job, income, or your value system, how you value yourself. Something was not working in this new world that we were stepping in, that you stepped in. It's just something had to change uh, in this house in order to meet the demands of this new world that we're shifting in. And then we had the eclipse, the partial solar eclipse. So a new opportunity, a new way of doing things in Aries. And Aries is your 10th house of career, status, reputation, and authority figures. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Taurus. um, we had a partial solar, let's try that again. We had a partial solar eclipse in Aries, and that is your ninth house of higher education, foreigners, long distance traveling, philosophy, publishing, the World Wide Web. Um, I mentioned traveling, long distance traveling, but it can also be traveling in the mind, exploring that through the mind. So, and you've been having eclipses the past 2 years in relations with your ninth house and Libra, your third house of short distance travel. And you are thinking, if you're a student, I mean, it makes perfect sense that there was uh, a new opportunity in regards to higher education. But for many of you, it's about packing up and leaving, um, or or um, just like backpacking um, places, exploring places, um, or like traveling the world. It's about foreigners and traveling, but it's more about um, something that has spiritual meaning, that is ethereal in nature. That's what you're going to be yearning for. So instead of like going to gamble your fortune away in Monaco, you'd rather be going to see the pyramids, something like that. Um, and then, of course, um, it can be about um, your philosophy on life, uh, or writing about that, publishing something about that. But again, it has to do with something about water, spirituality, uh, compassion, and in that regards of um, the ninth house. So very, um, very cosmopolitan, just like you like it. It is Aries, your fellow fire sign. So yes, we're coming off of that eclipse. So there's a lot of things going on in your mind um, in regards to that. And then, sorry about that. It's like a gigantic truck that just passed up by. So yeah, keep that in mind as we will discuss the first important aspect of April, which is on April 4th. We have the we have Saturn in Pisces that will sextile Uranus in Taurus. We also have Mars in Cancer that will sextile Uranus in Taurus, and also Mars in Cancer that will trine Saturn in Pisces. Very, very, very lovely day. Like, just one day with all these one, two, three, four beautiful aspects. Let me just live on April 4th forever. Um, so Saturn in Pisces, Pisces is your eighth house of joint finances, um, intimacy, government benefits, inheritance. It's about secrets, the taboo, about the past. It is about how others value you or how you benefit from other people. And usually it's money or gifts and in lump sums. So with Venus especially going retrograde in Pisces, you might have the joint finances might have taken a hit. Something about money um, and being short on something. But here, with Saturn sextiling Uranus in Taurus, so here Saturn's energy is a complete opposite to Uranus energy. Saturn is about slow and steady wins the race. It's about restrictions and working within rules and laws and restrictions. Uranus is, uh, you know, I can't remember that saying, but he absolutely abhors rules and restrictions. It's all about freedom and breaking free of freedom. Rule is the planet that rules electricity, shock, surprise, and rules very futuristic and quirky Aquarius. So complete opposites of each other. Um, but here they're working together. It's a sextile. Saturn's restrictive energies, um, and time oriented uh, energy. It wants to build strong foundations. Is actually being very supportive about um, an innovative new way of something regarding your career, your status, your reputation. Uh, it's like maybe jump starting it here, or the work you have been doing in regards of joint finances, or government benefits, or maybe even a loan. Maybe because the eighth house also rules loans, credits, and banks. You know, that's being very supportive in your endeavors regarding a career, a status, or an authority figure. So very, very important here. They come together, negotiate, and solidify something so that you can move forward in both areas of this part of you, both areas of your life. Uh, on the same day, Mars in Cancer will sextile Uranus in Taurus. So not only does Saturn approve and is giving support to something about your career and status, now something that is behind the scenes, somebody from the past, um, maybe taking care of someone. Um, your psyche, it could be about, oh, I'm sorry, I just yawned out of nowhere. So sorry about that. Um, yeah, something about the past or in secret or working behind the scenes is also very supportive of something about your career, status, and authority figures. And Mars then in Cancer is trining Saturn in Pisces. So whatever that Saturn here has supported, Mars in Cancer, whatever heat, action, or urgency that you've been working on behind the scenes is embalming that support, is giving another layer of support to Saturn in Pisces, to your eighth house. So this can also be something backroom deal is being you're working, excuse me, you're working on, or it can be somebody working on something without your knowledge, that is doing it on your behalf, or trying to support you somehow, and you might not know it. In any case, let's regarding Mars. So think back to September, October, when Mars first entered Cancer, and there was some sort of heat or urgency in regards to something that you were working on behind the scenes or in secret, um, or maybe you were taking care of someone. Um, maybe you were working with a therapist, um, or it could have been about spirituality and faith. But then you encountered an obstacle. There was an issue, so you had to retrace. You had to go back. But before you did that, then Mars entered your sign. So something about your image, the way you appear, the way you are seen, your profile, uh, that had also been something urgent about that action. You were taking action. Maybe you were changing your style, wardrobe, hair, and what have you. And again, just as you were pushing forward with this, again, something stopped you in your tracks where you had to uh, revisit, reconsider something about the way you appear. And as it retrograded and you were revisiting, reworking, redoing something about your image and the way you are seen, then got put on the back burner because then it retrograded all the way back into Cancer. And this retrograde into Cancer kind of really pushed you to the background. It might have like crushed your fire somehow because you there was an isolation kind of. You felt like isolated. Uh, but then when Mars stationed direct and started moving uh, forward in Cancer, your spirits did pick up again where you enjoyed being alone, um, because you're working on something diligently behind the scenes. Or it could have been, um, uh, it is your 12th house of hidden enemies or people you don't get along with. So you could have had an encounter with someone, even from the past, or someone you didn't get along with. Um, that the storm was kicked up, and again, an issue came up, and then when it started moving forward, then both of you might have found a solution to agree to disagree. But that's what the story is about Mars, and I'll be talking more about that uh, later on because it does make some more aspects during the month. And certainly Mars is going to come back into your sign, so that's quite important. Now, we're moving on to April 6th. Venus retrograde in Pisces will trine Mars in Cancer. And again, this is a soft aspect, it's a nice aspect. Uh, this can be, uh, now Venus is retrograde here in Pisces, and Pisces is your eighth house of intimacy. Uh, you can find maybe money, inheritance, uh, or joint finances uh, that maybe you misplaced or was lost. And here with Venus retrograde, it's digging down deeper. You might find that inheritance or that money that was lost, or something about credit or taxes, maybe a tax return. Uh, and it is giving a boost, an embalming aspect to something in secret or something you're wishing for, or setting your psyche at ease, or maybe even taking care of someone. It's helping you to take care of someone because that's what the 12th house also does. Otherwise, Venus retrograde in Pisces and your eighth house, you could have seen uh, a decline in joint finances, uh, a reversal of fortune here. Um, maybe your taxes, maybe you were anticipating more of a return, and the government said, "No, sorry, you made a mistake. Uh, you're getting half of what you're expecting." Or it could be like you didn't sign your tax returns, or we're sending it back, and it's just gotten delayed. That money has gotten delayed. Um, it can be true for government benefits as well. If you're, you know, if you have, if you're, dependent on that or looking forward to that, maybe it's SSI, also. Um, or it can bring someone back from the past that you may have been intimate with. Uh, and this relationship um, is somewhat at odds, um, where it can be hot and spicy, but it's something that is frowned on upon, and maybe from family, friends, um, peers, colleagues, siblings, anyone who thinks very highly of you. Let's put it that way, and just as pointing out um, the difference between you two, or that this relationship is not, something fulfilling, and it, it just brings up red flags. Now, if you really don't care about a long term relationship with this person that's popped up from the past, that's fine and dandy. If you're an adult, you can make what you're doing. But if there are strong feelings for this person and you want to continue with it, just know you're setting yourself up for that criticism from loved ones and people and understand that those challenges will be there in the future. And don't forget, you have Pluto in Aquarius opposing you. That is your seventh house of relationships and partnerships. And I would say don't worry about it if you didn't have powerful Pluto opposing your partnership house. Anyway, enough said about that. Not beating a dead horse. Just, and I promised I wouldn't be a psychological astrologer. I'm going to give you the facts, just the facts, ma'am, please. And you're old enough to make your decisions. But yeah, that's what that is about. Now, April 7th, Venus retrograde will conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So this is you're going to be revisiting a serious matter here that you first had around the end of January 18th, when it was exact Venus was direct then, and it conjuncted Saturn. So it could have been about a family member, maybe a child, maybe a romance, a lover, maybe a colleague, maybe a friend who were Pisces, your eighth house, uh, who were either angry at themselves or just non-consolable, um, and may have taken out their anger on you, and it hurt. Or you could have done that to them, and within a few days, um, you know, if they had slighted you, or you them, you realized the consequences of your actions, or realized that it wasn't personal. It was about themselves, or if it was you doing that, it was out of frustration and not really about that person. Uh, so now you revisit this matter when Venus is retrograde. So you get another layer of that anger, that despondency, or that frustration. You understand a little bit more where it not only brings up like compassion, but like cathartic healing. Yeah, very powerful aspect. And we will again have this same aspect when Venus starts going direct later on. Also, on April 7th, Mercury will station direct in Pisces. I'm coming up at the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to just start recording another session. Okay, yes. So Mercury will station direct in Pisces. Hallelujah. So the confusion of the past few weeks have been intense because Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Um, and Gemini is, practical, pragmatic, day-to-day commerce and agreements and discussions, and needs really clear information. And oh my God, Virgo is, almost anal about correct information and all that. And so Mercury has a really tough time in Pisces. And yeah, the past 3 or few weeks have been completely foggy with communications. And now Mercury stations direct in Pisces. Thank you. And but it's still Pisces. So, the fog may clear, but there might still be a mist that we have to navigate through as far as communications, um, agreements, thinking, contracts are concerned. And this has to do with your eighth house. Pisces is your eighth house, again, of joint finances, intimacy, and government benefits, inheritance, and all that. It's one of your money access house. Uh, and then, sorry, I was just thinking about something. The next aspect, um, just the one thing I wanted to mention about Mercury stationing direct in Pisces is if you had also any anxious feelings about your income, your job, or your value system. Because, like I mentioned, Mercury does rule Virgo, and we had that lunar eclipse in Virgo mid-month. So, that's another layer. That anxiety, that nervousness will calm down and almost go down to like zero, and you get your confidence back in regards to that, in regards to your job, income, and your value system. But just remember, it's only stationing here, uh, and I always say pay attention to stationing planets because there might be some sort of synchronicity or something weird you might hear that might seem out of the ordinary. Pay attention to that because that's a glitch in the system. When a planet stations, you might get a sneak peek of what's going on. um, but yeah, it's still stationing, and it needs a few days to pick up speed here. So it's still in shadow. So have backup plans regarding joint finances. I mean, it's Pisces, and money flow is not a problem for Pisces. Oddly enough, it has something. Neptune in Pisces has something to do with money. So whenever there's like shortage of money, just something magically appears. It saves the day, and as far as money is concerned. But so that might happen, but you might overspend again. So just have a backup plan of some sort, especially in the event that there's any uh, communication, commuting, traveling uh, in regards to the eighth house. Maybe anything in relations to an inheritance where others are involved. Or an administrator is involved, just have all your ducks in a row and a backup plan, and then research and be prepared. Okay. The next aspect that's important is Venus retrograde in Pisces will sextile Uranus in Taurus. A very lovely aspect and a very supportive aspect. But it should be taken with a grain of salt as Venus is still retrograde. So, again, it's your money house, it's your joint finances house. So, it might be about either about reversal of fortune or finding extra money or extra wealth that you weren't aware of, because Venus retrograding, it just goes on a deeper level. Or a Venus retrograde can show her ugly side. So it might be that's what I mean when I say reversal of fortune. Uh, but there's a sextile, there's a supportive aspect to your 10th house of career and status. Um, Whatever you're wanting, whatever surprising factor that's going on with your career or status. Um, so I'm tending to lean towards more of a supportive aspect from Venus. But again, uh, if it's a promise or an IOU or something like that, take it with a grain of salt, because Venus is retrograde, and when Venus goes direct, that IOU might amount to nothing, and only because maybe because of circumstances, because they're dealing with Venus retrograde and direct as well. It might not They might not be in the position to go through with that supportive commitment when Venus goes direct, um, or something just reverses or changes, but for the better. Okay, so that's how that can translate. And then on April 11th, or rather 12th, I'm sorry, and this is where the cutoff is what I mentioned about April having two parts. Uh, April 12th and forward, then there's we're taking action. We're making decisive plans, um, or coordinating things that are on a bigger level, and tying up major loose ends that have been in the background and coming to our attention, that are on a much more significant level, on a higher, well, not really higher level, but for lack of better words, it is tying up January, February, and March's um, significant aspects that are still in the background and need attending to. And in extension, it does originate in fall of last year. So I will be just mentioning a few of these major aspects that are quite important. But again, remember, I will be doing a detailed mid month. So let me go through with the first aspect that's important is on April 12th. Well, I'm going to mention all these three aspects for you since you are ruled by the sun. First, we have Venus that will station direct in Pisces. Yay and hallelujah! So, if you have been any experiencing any reversal of fortune in regards to your joint finances, here and forward, uh, you will Venus will start blessing your eighth house of joint finances once again, um, and money will reappear once again. Uh, Also, pay attention to this the stationing of Venus. Like I said, anything out of the ordinary, any synchronicity, pay attention to that, because it gives you a peek behind the veil. Now, we have a full moon in Libra on the 12th at 23 degrees. Now, full moons in general are endings or a culmination or a fruition of our past efforts. Um, and the origin of this full moon is the partial lunar eclipse we had last fall on October 2nd in Libra. So, whatever new opportunity that began then, um, or you seeded the hopes of the opportunity then, it is now coming to a close. And Libra is your third house of communication, commuting, the neighborhood, siblings, cousins, extended family, a very close knit community, um, social media, vision, your eyesight, and language, your need to be heard. So whatever started then ends here or comes to fruition. Okay, because this full moon is at the same degrees of that partial solar eclipse. Uh, the other thing is that this full moon is being opposed by the sun, your ruler, which is conjuncting Chiron, the wounded healer, um, in Aries, your ninth house of foreigners, long distance travel, higher education, um, publishing, and philosophy. Um, so the good thing about this full moon is it is sextiling your sun, so it's very supportive. Um, Definitely. The challenging thing is your ruler, like I mentioned, the sun is conjuncting Chiron in Aries, and this may be an internal struggle about how you are seen, um, in relations to maybe foreigners, or or maybe your education level, or which triggers an emotional wound or hurt from the past. Leo, you rule the fifth house of love, romance, children, creativity, and pets. So this hurt could also have to do with, well, it has to do with your ninth house, yes, um, because that's what Aries is for you. But for some of you, it is about maybe maybe a wound or a hurt, um, that has to do with maybe failing something or someone, um, in the past, and it may be a lover or a child, uh, and it could be related, um, yeah, to the past. Maybe your own childhood, so the past. Maybe your own father. Maybe your father was missing in your life, or maybe taken away early in your life, and that void is what you grew up with, and it colored your own fathering skills of someone else. I mean, that could be one scenario, or it can be about your philosophy on life, about higher education or publication, and it is affecting or opposing this full moon in your second house of your job, income, and value system. Maybe you are feeling that you are not being valued enough, or not being heard, even in regards to a job or income status. And this ending or culmination is releasing that thought process, or releasing that pain, um, because it just doesn't suit a Leo. You guys are terribly passionate, compassionate, and it stems from complete confidence. Your compassion comes from your confidence. It's not because you're a pushover, but you have a lot of confidence and knowledge. Leo rules also knowledge. Somehow you're associated with that. And think back to October's, like I mentioned earlier, October 2nd's partial solar eclipse in Libra, and that new opportunity, or your hope in seeding that new opportunity. You might see it culminate to something good here. It doesn't have to necessarily be bad. But I'm talking about millions of Leos, so there's hundreds of scenarios. Um, Now, this is also somehow tied in with intimacy, like I mentioned, joint finances, inheritance, government benefits, um, and how others value you. That's the eighth house. Uh, the second house is how you value yourself. The eighth house, you have no control over how others value you. And you have been reviewing this very confusing area of your life for a long time now. And you've had some major restrictions about joint finances starting back in 2023. Now, it is Pisces. So even with Saturn's restrictions and constrictions that started back in 2023, there was always like a flood of money or joint finances that came in, but left just as easily, like sand slipping through your fingers. Uh, and most recently, with Venus retrograde in this house, some wake up calls. Um, you could have encountered some wake up calls where joint finances have taken a hit, or you could have found even more money during this retrograde. Really depends on your personal chart. Either or, Venus going direct here is a good thing, because then money starts flowing again, but with more clarity. Okay. Um, uh, and this full moon can also be something of like a stinging pain, um, but there's understanding. There's something of justice or understanding. It can be a bittersweet thing for you, because it also, Libra is also, the third house is also about your siblings, cousins, like I mentioned much earlier, or a close knit community. there's some sort of type of an ending here. Um, so, and as far as people who have had your back, and maybe you never um, really acknowledge them, or people who never really had good intentions um, towards you, but maybe they deceived you and giving you the feeling that um, they cared about you. Otherwise, it could simply be, it could simply be not that dramatic. It's your third house, and it might be um, uh, your phone is just not working properly, or your car starts to act up or dies, starts to slowly die on you, and you make a decision here during this full moon, like, okay, I've had enough. I need to upgrade my phone, and you throw out your old phone. You end that, or you go to a new carrier, or you trade in your car, or maybe it's social media, and you end your subscription with something. Don't end it with mine. uh, I'm laughing with you, Leo. Um, or yeah, it can be something mundane and not as dramatic. I'm trying to cover all bases because we're dealing with millions of Leos and hundreds of different scenarios here. So that also on full moons, I mean, I know it's bright, it's a full moon, but moons are at night. They're hidden. Moons rule our emotions. Our emotions are hidden. So no matter how full and bright the moon is, there is still something that's being concealed from you here. There's still um, emotions might be concealed also here. So try not to make hardline, permanent decisions during any full moon, any eclipse, because something is hidden. Give yourself and others a space of a few days before making any decisions on a full moon. And a moon, takes 2.5 days to pass each sign. So that's why I'm saying a few days till at least those emotions calm down and relax. And especially because your ruler is involved with opposing this full moon. Okay, Leo? So the next important aspect is on the 16th of April, where Mercury will now leave Pisces and enter Aries. Another, again, very important for you, your fellow air sign. And so think back to the conversations, ideas you had in regards uh, to your ninth house of foreigners, long distance travel, and higher education or publication back at the beginning of March when Mercury first entered Aries. And there was some exciting, new, fresh energy here, or new ideas. Um, but, Mercury then started retrograding. Uh, so something might have been reversed or put on the back burner. And now it picks up again here. Again, I'll discuss that more in detail in the mid month. But just to let you know that what that energy is about. Then the next most important thing, and very important for you, is on the 18th, Mars will leave Cancer. Hallelujah. Because it really doesn't like being in Cancer. Um, Fire and water. Um, but yeah, it leaves Cancer and it ingresses into your sign, Leo. So you're going to be getting this energy, um, this gumption, this drive, this urgency. And I do suggest to incorporate maybe a walking routine, meditation, or some type of exercise or a regime, um, as Mars will give you a lot, and I mean a lot of boost of energy. There will be determination and urgency about everything you do. And yes, you will get your roar back as well, and maybe even frightening. Oh, I can't talk now. Maybe a frightening roar. Um, I mean, Mars does rule your fire sign buddy, Aries, but it is the god of war. So you are sort of used to that energy. You are a fire sign after all, but I'm just suggesting a physical activity because you have been sort of in the background with Mars spending, oh my gosh, 2 months in the fall and 3 months, almost 4 or 5 months in Cancer and your 12th house of behind the scenes and your psyche. Um, so so yeah, just when you got the gumption and drive to move forward, um, Mars then turned retrograde and moved back into Cancer, and sort of you were put on hold. So not only did it slow you down, but completely left you. maybe even out in the cold or on the back burner. And you've been having, plus the opposition from uh, Pluto, a very powerful planet, in your partnership house. So a lot of push down energy against you. And now with Mars racing through Cancer and roaring into your sign, pun intended, it's building in intensity to this final showdown with Pluto. And you are very compassionate and not a resentful or spiteful sign. And you want to keep that cool confidence. So that's why I'm suggesting to work off some of that heat and energy that Mars will push you with. Because remember, Mars only has one thing in mind: is going forward and getting what you want at any cost. And for you, you're not Aries. You're there is a cost that you do not want to pay. The next most important thing is on the 19th, the Sun will ingress into Taurus, and um, again, Sun is your ruler, so you get a calming energy with Taurus, and it will be a review um, and a highlight of your 10th house of career and status and your reputation and authority figures. The Sun shines a spotlight on that, but it's a much more um, Taurus is a much more down to earth sign, so you get that respite. Then we start, Leo, with building the intensity to that clash of the Titans, final battle between um, Mars in your sign and Pluto in your opposite sign of partnerships, because we have the Sun in Taurus squaring Mars in your sign. So your ruler, um, highlighting your 10th house of career status and authority figures, squaring Mars in regards to something about your image, the way you appear. So it might be a showdown with authority figures here, because a square is a hard aspect. Or it can be an internal struggle. Remember, the Sun rules you. Um, so it might be something internally that you're trying to process out and square away regarding your career and how you appear. There's a lot of introspection with you, Leo. A lot of, and I know I keep mentioning it for every scope, so I don't want to feed into that victim thing, but there's a lot of energy against you, um, because then on the 23rd we have the Sun in Taurus squaring Pluto in Aquarius. Um, another hard aspect, and again, it is about your career and your status, um, and it is challenging Pluto. Oh my God. Uh, the Sun is a very, very powerful planet, and it is your ruler, and it is about your career and status. And Taurus is a fixed sign, a very stubborn sign, and squaring off with Pluto. Oh my gosh, um, your partners are very powerful people, and it could be an authority figure. But yeah, we'll discuss that more in detail in your mid-month scope. The next important thing that comes up is on the 24th. Another serious aspect. I'm laughing with you, Leo. Please, I'm laughing with you. We have Venus now direct conjuncting Saturn and Pisces. So remember, when I said that serious matter that you revisited from about January 18th. We revisit that when Venus is retrograde earlier this month. Now Venus is direct, and we revisit it for the third and final time. Um, and then we have, on the 25th, the Sun in Taurus again, semi-square Jupiter in Gemini. And this can be something of an expansion or exaggeration, but here it is. On April 26th, it is perfected. It is the clash of the Titans. It will be a story written down um, for the ages. Mars in your sign will oppose Pluto in Aquarius. Um, and you can think back to the beginning of November when Mars first opposed Pluto. And you can think also back to New Year's Day, in the beginning of January, when Mars was retrograde in your sign and opposed Pluto in Aquarius. But then Mars was retrograde, so it wasn't in its full power. Uh, and now, Mars is not your ruler, but he is giving you this push, this energy, um, and it's coming up to powerful Pluto. And Pluto invites this destruction. He wants Mars to destroy something here about your image, about the way you are seen, because um, he wants to rebuild. Um, I mean, granted, yeah. So a partner wants something here transformed about how you are seen, about your image, about your profile. And Mars is just coming head on with Pluto. Just, stay under the covers, lock the doors. Uh, but it is what it is. And again, we'll do a detailed monthly scope, and I will look at all aspects regarding this opposition, um, because the intensity will start mid-month about this opposition. And then the next day we have a new moon in Taurus. Well, a fancy of you coming along. It's about time. So a new opportunity, um, or the hopes, seeding the hopes of a new opportunity regarding your career status, reputation, or about authority figures. But this new moon will square your sign, Leo. So there's and squares, yes, are tense aspects, but they also jumpstart things that may be stale or stagnant. All right. And then on the 30th, Venus will exit Pisces and ingress into Aries. So uh, it'll start blessing your ninth house of higher education, foreigners, long distance traveling, publication. You get to attract money, fame, and fortune and love through this house again. So whatever Venus was blessing you with, and then in the ninth house, then issues arose during the retrograde period. Now with it going direct, it will reverse that bad luck. It's something like I don't want to give that example because I don't want. Maybe I'll do it during your mid month because I don't want to give power of suggestion just yet. Just yet. In any case, with Venus moving direct into Aries, yes, it'll be blessing your ninth house. Now, still remember, it's still in shadow until May 16th when it clears its shadow at 9 degrees. So between April 30th and May 16th, there is still a possibility for a reversal regarding your ninth house. So still have backup plans. Okay, Leo? Um, if you have any questions or are confused about anything, do put it in the comment section. I answer all questions, and uh, just um, just be careful with your movement, uh, with walking the dogs or um, just going around because Mars is in your sign, and you may be susceptible to maybe nicks and cuts, and you know, um, opening the door and you know, things happen. And there's Pisces in the mix. Pisces rules feet as well. So just, do a lot of stretching before you run, and just be careful of that. Also, Pisces, um, even though it rules your eighth house, but it does rule natally the 12th house of dreams in the past or your psyche. And since you've had Mars in Cancer and your 12th house as well, Cancer also rules home and family and the matriarchy or the mother. So yeah, that retrograde in Cancer might have been family or a mother figure was might have been in the background somehow. But dreams are very big with Pisces, Neptune, um, and the 12th house. So you might have dreams, and I do interpret dreams. You can throw those in the comments, and we'll have fun with it. All right, Leo. So that's how the month ends, and that is your scope for April. And I will be talking to you in mid month with your mid month to end of the month scope. Please take care of yourselves. Wishing you the best.